Are you ready to rewind? Take a nostalgia-filled ride back to a simpler time. It's Acid Wash Memories, a retro pop culture celebration. And now your hosts, Joe Murata and Michael Quinn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 73 of Acid Wash Memories, a retro pop culture celebration. Today, we continue the Seinfeld series with part 3, seasons 6 and 7. I am Joe Murata, alongside our very own Larry David, Michael Quinn. How you doing there, Michael?
Howdy-ho, I'm here.
Are you curbing your enthusiasm?
Yeah, this show's over now, though.
Folks, thank you so much for being with us here.
Finally done.
Acid Wash Memories is not over, though. We are, in fact, a retro pop culture celebration, and each week is something completely different if you're new around here. And we do have, if you're not into Seinfeld but you stumbled upon this, we do have 72 other episodes available where, Quinn?
In the archives.
In the archives. So you're sure to find something you like. And meanwhile, whether you're new or you're old, if you haven't followed us yet on Twitter, why don't you do so at AWM Podcast. And you can also join, Quinn, I would say a very friendly Facebook group that we have.
Super friendly.
There's friends there.
Yeah, they're friends, and they talk about the old stuff.
You can even talk about friends there.
Yeah.
We haven't yet, but
Not
you
yet.
could.
Not that's coming, isn't it?
Much
I don't
to the
see how it
chagrin
doesn't.
of many, though, I'm sure. But yes,
It's the
probably will be.
other notable
It's the
show
other
of
NBC show
of the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about Seinfeld, and listen, we did 2 parts already on this, so we got to get right into it. We've talked about the archive. We've talked about where to follow us on social media, right? Acid Wash Memories on Facebook, our group, and AWM Podcast. We left off with seasons 4 and 5 last time. And season 4, as we discussed, is my personal favorite season. I know you like a lot of those episodes, too.
Yeah. I'm more of a, I don't have a personal favorite season with Seinfeld. The more, the older I get, the more I think of it. It's a lot of the stuff is dispersed to me at this point.
Fair.
When you think about, some of your favorite episodes, outside of season 1 and 2, everything beyond that is, to me, dispersed as much.
It's just Seinfeld,
it's
right?
It's just, there's just good episodes all over the place.
Gotcha.
May I ask why?
And a lot of our fans are fans like you are, Quinn, of the zany. And we're going to be introducing some zane here as we get into seasons 6 and 7, particularly in 6. It's a very zany season.
Now, I like the zany because I don't mind, I don't know, let's take Kramer to the extreme ridiculousness.
Yeah, that's where this really
sometimes
starts.
That is, incredibly funny.
It is.
Right?
No, I
It's
totally agree with you.
Because Kramer on his base is an unrealistic character. He's insane.
Yeah.
So it's just you know what? I can deal with turning Kramer up to 15, not even 11.
Not even 11,
Just
wow.
let's go crazy, right? Kramer just insanity.
Let's get nuts!
That's what we're going to be getting into here, folks. So to pick it up, though, as a brief refresher, when we left season 5, which ended in May of 1994, Seinfeld was already critically acclaimed at this point, and they were number 3 in the Nielsen's overall for that season. It's a damn good spot.
I mean, coming from nobody gave a shit for the longest time with this show, right?
3 years.
Yeah, they let it go, which was kind of surprising,
Kind of unheard of.
Yeah, in and of itself, right?
Yes.
They went the prestige route, but usually when you go the prestige route with a show, it actually, the ratings just keep going down until they're okay, we can't even prestige excuse this anymore.
We can't fund this
but
shit.
But this show went the opposite. It just kept going up in the ratings.
It did. And also, in a way, season 5, in my opinion, and I want to hear what you Seinfeld fans think, it's kind of the end of the classic era of Seinfeld. And let me explain that, okay? In season 6 is where we start to get really wacky, and that would really shoot up in 8 and 9, as we know, right? But there's no more pendant publishing. There's no more loser George. Everything is faster paced. You get a lot of scenes now.
The template for Seinfeld was short, quick scenes. Very few scenes lasted more than 3 pages.
There's a lot less scenes and a lot less episodes with the 4 of them doing something. That begins to really happen in season 6.
Usually every episode is generally around the concept that all 4 of them are doing something different and that some of the storylines cross each other.
Yeah.
And then by the end, sometimes not always, a cross pollination of the end of the story meets up with all the other characters.
Exactly.
Right?
That was like a Seinfeld trademark for a while.
Right.
Was some unrelated thing meets up with this unrelated thing, and you laugh.
Yeah.
And then the credits roll.
A lot of times it's only 2 of the 4 stories meeting each other. Sometimes other stuff just ends.
It just resolves or doesn't. It just, nothing happens.
Yeah.
No, nothing happens.
So as we get into season 6, this is September 94 to May of 1995. I'm going to say it off the bat, Quinn. This season was number 1 in the ratings.
This
season
is 6? Wow.
6.
Unbelievable.
This season, before we get into episode by episode, is even sillier than 5. Very, very funny.
I mean, would it kill you not to be so funny all the time? That's all I'm asking.
A few notes I wanted to make, production notes here. Their longtime director, up to season 5, Tom Sharonis, is out. Their new director, who will remain to the end of the series, is Andy Ackerman.
Okay.
There's really no discernible difference in the show because the heart of the show is produced by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld.
One thing I will say, I feel like by this season, I feel like weirdly, it's like a very subtle production quality increase. They like look better. I don't know any other way to describe it. It's
You're
like
right.
glossier or something.
I have always thought I can't describe this. Okay, This is the best I can do, and I thought about this. I'm so glad you hit upon it. The first 5 are brown, and after that, they're blue.
Yeah, maybe
that's the color I see in my mind.
What the hell? Are you dropping acid or something?
But you did hit upon something with the production. They got their new New York street for season 6. So
that's where I noticed it the most.
Yes.
Where it's like, why does this look better than the rest of the show?
That New York street is a game changer because it goes on to be featured for the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's like their neighborhood in quotes. Like that's what it's supposed to be.
The studio said, wait a second, we can fix the stage and we'll build you a street if you stay here. So that would gave us the seed money to design and build New York Street.
And there's a lot more location shots and getting out of the apartment. There's a lot more stuff. It's a quick-paced season. A lot of the episodes are very fast-paced. So let's get into the episodes here. And I want to disclaim this as I always do. Quinn, you've been with me for every episode of Acid Wash Memories. When we do TV shows, which we've only done a handful, we do try to hit upon all the major things. But inevitably, right? Like invariably, we cannot mention every single thing that happens in every episode.
There's no time for that here.
Okay, like we're sorry. We're going to mention every episode, and we're going to try to hit some major plot points or funny things or characters, but I'm warning you all now, listen up, okay? We are probably going to neglect to mention things. Is that good enough?
It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not mad at you.
Thank you, Quinn. So we're going to start with the chaperone. Do you remember this one? This is where Jerry is dating Miss Rhode Island. This is how we kick off the season.
Oh, this.
Her act is like she's got these birds, and Jerry and Kramer go to AC. Kramer gets all possessive about it.
The AC thing, yeah.
Yep. And immediately...
Now, this doesn't involve Kathy Griffin at all because...
Stop bringing up Kathy Griffin.
Because I always mix her up as like a recurring character for some weird reason.
We'll get to Kathy Griffin.
You're poo-pooing.
Yes, I poo-poo.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. I'm taking this kid to the top. To the top, Jerry. We're going for the crown, and you can't stop her.
I don't want to stop her.
The birds get lost because of Kramer. He puts them on the balcony, or they fly away. So she has to sing It's a Most Unusual Day, and she's really out of key.
It's a most unusual day. Feel like throwing my worries away.
If you recall, at the end of season 5, Elaine had no job because Pendant closed.
Right.
So she has an interview here at Doubleday to replace Jackie Onassis Kennedy. But instead, she doesn't get that job. She gets hired as the personal assistant for the British aristocrat,
Mr. Pitt. Here, Mr. Pitt, to me, is like the beginning of the fucking wacky, weird bosses.
Yes.
Elaine's bosses is actually one of my favorite recurring bits because she always has these, like, who the fuck are these people? Like, they're so weird.
Lipman had his quirks, but he was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But Mr. Pitt is, like, crazy.
Yeah, like...
I need my socks, or whatever, you know?
The socks episode is, like, very notorious.
What do you want?
I want a decent sock that's comfortable, that'll stay on my foot.
Also, George, if you recall, he did the opposite in the finale of season 5.
Right.
That landed him a job as the assistant to the traveling secretary for the New York Yankees.
Which, okay, I'm going to say this. First of all, I feel like there was foreshadowing with the whole George saying, I could be a general manager of a ball club or something. And
I mean, that was way long ago, but maybe.
I always felt that was like a nugget, or maybe when they were writing that and they were like, we got to put George somewhere eventually. It's like, what about that baseball bit?
You think Larry or Jerry remembered that? Probably, right?
It's too on the nose convenient, right? It's like,
it?
wait, he works for the Yankees? Like, it's like the same thing he wanted.
Now, I want to mention this now because George works for the Yankees for several seasons. I want to mention this now. The idea that he has what is somewhat of like a mid-level or entry-level position, right? The assistant to the traveling secretary, right? The fact that, and Seinfeld knows what they're doing, like they're aware, that he has this amazing office with a view of like the stadium.
Right, he's not even like high up.
Right,
and he's like in these high level meetings and shit, like
with Steinbrenner.
Yeah, like all the time. Like it's like part of like work for him.
Yeah,
like, it's just very weird.
It is Jerry and Larry are aware of it.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't know that you wouldn't really be in that
I just
position.
think that they gave him the stupid position so they can make a joke of that. But then they realized, they were like, wait a second, it'd be funnier if he's like in these meetings and Steinbrenner's being Steinbrenner and like all these people and all these situations and yada, yada, yada would be funnier. So they just like, I don't know, they just like make up that that's what George does.
It's so funny. In this episode, he is able to convince the Yankee organization to change to cotton uniforms, remember, instead of polyester, and then they rip.
Listen, Buck, obviously I don't need to talk to you about the importance of player morale, but I've been talking to some of the guys, and some of them, I don't want to mention any names, but some of them aren't too happy with the polyester uniforms.
How so?
Well, they get very hot in the polyester. You know, it's not a natural fiber.
Like, he would never be able to do that.
No, but again, it leads to like a lot of like weird situations. There's like stuff he has access to that doesn't make any sense. Like,
and the office again, it's a beautiful office.
The fact that Steinbrenner even knows who he is weird in general.
And Steinbrenner, obviously, we've mentioned this, but he's voiced by Larry David,
right?
The caricature of George Steinbrenner. So we'll move on to episode 2, The Big Salad. This was based on a real thing that happened to Larry David, where somebody took credit for an order, even though he paid for it. Anyway, it's not that good of an episode. It's never been one of my favorites.
You know, if it was a regular salad, I wouldn't have said anything. But you had to have that big salad!
Elaine orders a big salad, and George...
I barely remember this
it's not a good one.
Yeah.
There's O.J. Chase references with Kramer and a fictitious baseball player
but every
known
show
as Steve Gendison.
I feel like every show referenced the O.J. Chase.
They did. At least it was 94 here.
It was like the zeitgeist at this point. It was like, you got to bring up the chase. Like,
WWF was on top of it in 96.
Well, we know it takes them like 2 years to do it to be like that's quick for them.
That's pretty good for them.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the pledge drive. This is stupid, zany fun. So first of all, Jerry's doing a pledge drive for PBS. George, again with his influence with the Yankees, is able to get Danny Tartable, who was the right fielder at the time for the Yankees, to be a part of it, right?
His influence, like how?
Doesn't
make any sense.
But meanwhile, everyone notices that Mr. Pitt eats his Snickers bar with a knife and a fork.
That sounds like Mr. Pitt, though.
This becomes a trend throughout New York. While George is driving Danny Tartable to the pledge drive, Danny Tartable's eating a donut with a knife and a fork. Meanwhile, George thinks a guy flipped him off and gave him the finger while he was driving, so he turns around, he follows him. Danny Tartable misses the pledge drive. Meanwhile, Jerry's Nana gets involved in the episode because Elaine knows a high talker that she thinks is him, but it's really Jerry's Nana. Do you remember this one?
Kind of.
It's such a stupid, fun episode.
So the thing with to me, this is like the first one exemplifying the like, okay, we're turning up the zane. Like this is like
it's so stupid.
There's like so many things you just said that are like ridiculous,
and they all
just on their face, but they're all connected. And this was kind of like the brilliance to me of the show at this point was that it felt like they could just do whatever. Like it didn't matter. Like it did not matter.
Hello?
Hello, I need to speak to Jerry.
Oh, it's you. We were just talking about you. Listen, Jerry doesn't want to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to you. So why don't you just drop dead?
the way the episodes are written are in this weird way where it feels like they were just written, oh, they're in this situation, we got to get them here, so like let's do this or something. And that's to me why they feel so free-flowing and well-paced and everything, because it's just like anytime they need to move along, they just do some wacky weird shit, right?
What does Nana sound like?
Like a grandmother, why?
Well,
Oh, you hung up on my Nana?
I don't know, maybe.
You told Nana to drop dead!
I know you're the bigger fan of the zany than I am, but this is one of my favorites because remember at the very end, Uncle Leo's like, "Stop the show" on the PBS pledge drive.
I remember very notably Uncle Leo's somehow involved with the pledge drive.
Because of Nana.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's his mom.
She's on a very fixed income. Stop the show!
We move on to the Chinese woman. I don't really like this one. It's where there's this lady named Donna Chang who's...
I love this one.
Do you really?
Oh my... Because, no, I love the reveal, right?
She's not Chinese.
So the lines get crossed, and they're talking to her, and they think she's Chinese.
Estelle Costanza, for some reason, is like all happy about it.
And then she's like, "Hi, I'm Donna Chang." Like when she shows up, there's like a nice laugh from the audience because it's just so like
you're right,
unexpected and funny.
I guess it's good writing.
Yeah,
it's weird though because remember she also like does all these things that she tries to act like she's Chinese, but she pretends that she's not.
Did they uncross the lines yet?
No, they can't find the problem. It's really getting ridiculous.
Did you say ridiculous?
Ridiculous.
You're right, Corn. It's well written.
I just remember that getting a good laugh even from my parents when we first watched it. Like the whole because I don't know. I guess it just plays into like on the phone you really don't know who a person is until you meet them kind of thing.
Fair.
And like it's like a relatable joke.
Fair.
Right?
The next one is known as the couch, and this was where Jerry gets a new couch. That's one aspect. But the most notable thing, there's two really funny things about this, and they tie in. I love the way they tie this in. Remember Poppy? Poppy makes his debut here.
Oh, is this Poppy what I think it is?
Yeah, so Poppy is a restaurant owner, right? And Kramer, if you recall, since the beginning of the series, had this idea for a pizza place where you make your own pie. Remember, he talked about this in maybe season 2. Right. I can't remember when. Right, earlier on.
Horrible idea, by the way.
It is because remember, Jerry's like, you can't have people shoving their arms into a 700-degree oven.
Yeah,
it's all supervised.
Yeah.
Remember, Kramer. So anyway, he gets Poppy to agree with the idea. That's one thing.
Horrible.
Yes. So when Kramer is with Poppy at the pizza place, they're talking about what does or does not constitute a pizza because Kramer wants to put cucumbers on it. And Poppy's like, you cannot give the people the right to choose.
Yeah.
Right? And they do this great bit where he's like, it's not a pizza until it goes in the oven. It's a pizza as soon as you stick your fist in the dough. Meanwhile, Elaine, and then we're getting into like very promiscuous Elaine in this season. She's very interested in the mover that took Jerry's old couch to her house.
Yes.
And Jerry's like, well, where does he stand on abortion? So it turns out that he's pro-life.
Right.
So they are tying in this pizza thing with the pro-choice.
Right. It's like a political thing, but it's humorous.
It's done in a way, like, how could this offend anyone, truthfully?
Well, no, I mean,
you know what I mean?
It's the same way they handle the bet or whatever.
The masturbation.
Yes, but
right, the contest.
The contest, sorry, that's the question.
Wanking it.
Yeah. It's just their like Seinfeldian way of like doing something that's in the pop culture controversial thing, but like putting a Seinfeld humorous spin on it.
Exactly.
And where it's like not offensive.
It's really well done.
It's cucumbers.
No, you cannot put a cucumbers on a pizza.
Well, why not? I like cucumbers.
That's not a pizza. It'll taste terrible.
Yeah, but that's the idea. You make your own pie.
Yes, but we cannot give the people the right to choose any topping they want. Now, on this issue, there can be no debate.
What gives you the right to tell me how I would make my pie?
Because it's a pizza.
It's not a pizza till it comes out of the oven.
It's a pizza the moment you put your fist in the dough.
Meanwhile, the George subplot is that he's dating a woman who's part of a book club. and the book to read is Breakfast at Tiffany's. So he goes to the video store, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Patton Oswalt as the video store clerk.
Well, I can put it on reserve for you if you'd like.
Maybe we could call them and ask them to return it.
Oh, sorry. We can't do that.
He's like, I'm going to just rent the movie, because he's George, right?
That's the most George shit possible. I'm not going to read the book.
Right. I'm going to rent the movie. But someone else has the movie. So George is able to get a glimpse of the computer screen to see who has it. He goes to the gentleman's house, if you recall. He's like, can I watch the movie or whatever, right? You guys
tries
know.
to like watch it with his family.
Yeah,
or
they're
something.
all like, who the fuck are you?
It's so embarrassing.
This is George. Would you mind if he watched Breakfast at Tiffany's with us?
It's one of those episodes where I can't even look. It's like so wrong.
It is. It's cringy.
It's like cringy. It's like George just like wants to eat popcorn and all. He's like such an obnoxious asshole.
He's so dick in this one.
It's like, isn't it like a family too?
Yeah, they're just a family.
It's like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
he spills soda all over their couch. So this ties in to Jerry. So Poppy comes over. He's got this condition. And this is the famous Poppy peed on my sofa.
Yes, so the Poppy peed on the sofa thing.
Is it? Could it? Could he have? It is! Poppy peed on my sofa!
This is like an all-time. I remember when the stain is found, like, everyone is laughing. It is
Yes.
It is too fucking good.
And then, meanwhile, this is we were talking about earlier about plots meeting up. At the very end, after Elaine breaks up with the guy, the mover, he's helping her with something with the couch, and she offers him grape juice, and he's like, "Hey, throw it." So she throws the glass bottle. It breaks, and it gets on the couch out of frame.
Yeah, I do
That's
love.
good
I do
writing,
love
man.
the whole like everything is about a couch getting a stain on it part. Like
Every couch gets a stain.
Yeah,
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Every rose has its thorn. Every couch has its stain.
It's the theme of the episode, really.
Stains.
Yeah.
The Gymnast is the next episode. This is the one where Jerry is dating a, I believe it's a Romanian gymnast. And the idea is like she'd be amazing in bed because, you know, contortion
Right.
and stuff, but it's average. But anyway, Kramer has a kidney stone the whole episode. Remember this, Quinn?
Not really.
He does. And then during... Jerry's with her at some like thing with her ex-boyfriend's doing some thing on the high tightrope or whatever the hell. And Kramer passes the stone in the public toilet, and he yells so much that the guy falls, right? So that's one arc. But the other one, this is the funny. George dating a girl who's very nice. This is where you almost feel bad for George. He keeps doing things that offend the mom, but he doesn't mean to. Like, for example, we find out early in the episode that George takes his shirt off when he takes a poopy. Hey,
It's not that big of a deal.
sometimes I do
You're
that.
in the bathroom.
Right, it's private. However, at some thing that he's at, where the girl's mom is there, there's a 3D painting. Remember the 3D art? You know the 3D
Yeah,
art.
the Magic Eye and all that.
Yeah, it's Magic Eye.
It was very popular in the 90s, Magic Eye.
Right, and this ties into Mr. Pitt, because remember, he has one, and he's like, Elaine, I don't see it, or whatever. He's like,
I
all
hated
upset.
that shit, by the way. Can we just say, like, I
Go
hated,
ahead.
why did you have to do so much fucking work to see this shit in 3D? Like, if it was that good, you wouldn't have to, like, back and forth.
Cross your eyes or whatever.
It's horrible. Fucking terrible idea.
Well, Mr. Pitt agreed with you.
Yeah, he'll be there. Mr. Pitt, you have got to stop staring at that poster.
I see something that could be a spaceship. Is it round? Is it pointed?
No, don't see it again. I'm never gonna.
George is at a place where they have that, and he got so engrossed in it that he comes out of the bathroom without his shirt on, so that upsets the mom. Later, she thinks he's homeless because he throws coffee on a guy's car, and the guy's like, hey, clean that shit off, right? So he's cleaning it off. And
it's
then,
all just mishaps, and,
Right.
like, George looks bad in every situation.
it's like Three's Company style humor, you know what I mean? Like, what is Mr. Roper going to say? But then finally, this is one of his most infamous moments. He eats the eclair that had one bite taken out of it. He takes it out of the garage. Out of the garbage.
Yeah, it takes it out of the garbage. So then she's like, he really looks like he's homeless or something.
Yeah, and she's like, and it's like, Mrs. Wayne! Mrs. Wayne! Or
Yeah.
whatever. The soup, not to be confused with another soup-related episode.
Yes.
This is The Soup.
Different soup.
Different soup. This is the debut of who would become a semi-recurring character, Kenny Banya, the hack comedian.
Banya,
yes.
as sometimes
he's
he would
just known
be
as
referred-
Banya.
Yeah.
I've been working out. Went from a size 40 to a 42.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm huge.
he worships Jerry, and Jerry does not have the time of day for this guy.
He's horrible, but
Right.
he's like terrible at being a comedian.
Yeah, he's a horrible comedian, and he's very aggravating. Like, come on, Jerry, it's great, Jerry, right, with the wide eyes. And
It's
like,
kind of like a hanger-on
Yeah.
in a way. Like he thinks he's good, but he's not, and he wants to be like friends with people who are good.
Right, that's what it is. If you recall, I think it was in season 4, the movie, Pat Buckles was the comedian that was like trying to be a hanger-on. I know the name. I'm pretty sure they had the same idea in mind
Right.
for like this hack comedian.
It's probably based off some other person too.
In real life.
Like it absolutely is. It seems like the experience of a comedian, that there would be like a lesser comedian that would always want to be your friend.
Trying to be like a horn.
Yeah.
We knew a real life horn, not about common. Remember Horn?
Yeah,
There was a guy that horned.
There's plenty of horns in my life that I've dealt with.
And Kenny Bonio's a horn, right?
Yeah.
But this is the deal where he's like, Jerry, you want an Armani suit? And then Kramer gets in the midst of it. He's like, wow, what a great suit, Jerry. He's like, I'm not even asking him anything for it. And then it turns into, soup is not a meal. Remember,
Yeah.
they go to Mendy's.
Doesn't he not want the suit for some
He
reason?
doesn't even fucking want the suit.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have soup. Yeah, I'll save the meal for another time.
Another time? What other time?
I had a hot dog earlier. I'm not that hungry.
No, Ben, you know. This is the dinner. The soup counts.
Soup's not a meal. You're supposed to buy me a meal.
I'm not stopping you from eating. Go ahead and eat. Get anything you want.
But I don't want anything but soup.
Then that's the meal.
But I had the hot dog.
I didn't tell you to have a hot dog. Who told you to have a hot dog?
Hey, I give you a brand new Armani suit, and you won't even buy me a meal.
All right, fine.
There's the mom and pop store. Do you remember this one?
Kind of.
So Kramer's visiting a mom and pop store that's not doing well financially, and he points out very legitimately like an electrical issue. So they get shut down, and they blame Kramer, even though like he's right.
They should just fix it. What the fuck?
They should just fucking fix it. But this is also, more importantly, two other things. Remember when George buys John Voight's car? And he's very proud. He's like, this car is for John Voight.
Yeah, John Voight.
John Voight, right?
You bought a car because it belonged to John Voight?
No.
I think yes. You like the idea of telling people you're driving John Voight's car.
Jerry has a dentist friend known as Dr. Tim Whatley.
There you go.
The debut.
That's where you get me. Right there is Whatley.
So this is Bryan Cranston, obviously, who would one of his greatest fame as Walter White, but also was on Malcolm in the Middle as
Now,
Hal.
the whole gimmick with Whatley, right, is that he possibly is a psychopath and like all this weird shit.
It goes on to be that way. I mean, in the beginning, he's more straight-laced because they hadn't developed him yet.
Jerry!
Hey, Tim. Jerry.
I didn't think you'd show.
Did you say, Jerry, I didn't think you'd show? Or Jerry, I didn't think you'd show?
And it's another testament to the Seinfeld casting people. Mark Hirschfield, I think, was one of the casting directors.
Well, by this point in the show, I feel like it's not difficult for Seinfeld to get good up-and-coming actors, and the reason is
True.
just because the show is becoming such a pop culture thing.
You want to be on the show.
Right, so I don't even think by this point it was hard for them to look. People would have come to them, not the other way around.
That's a good
right?
point. I
Like,
mean, look at all the talent that we discussed for season 4 and
I mean,
5
there
that
would
they
be
got.
existing celebrities that would just show up. Like, we know, like, Bette Midler and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, like, Raquel Welch, like, stuff like that. It was just kind of like Seinfeld could just, whatever they needed, people would, like, if they asked, they would show up.
Pretty much.
Right.
It was a show to be seen on.
Right.
So this is the debut of Whatley. The only time he has a beard, for the record.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a beard for the rest of the series. And without, again, there's clips dropped into this, I'm sure you've realized by now, so we don't have to explain every single plot detail. But the bottom line is, it's not John Voight's car. It's John Voight. John Voight is Jon.
Right.
But John Voight makes a cameo when he bites Kramer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really well done.
Can I ask you something? Listen. Wait.
Is this? Hi. My name is Dave Meltzer, and I like wrestling, but also I like Seinfeld a lot. And so so what they didn't actually mention, but there's a bit where they do a parody of Midnight Cowboy, which starred Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman. It's from 1969. Nice. So it's it's where, hey, I'm walking here. It's where that comes from.
Next up, we have the secretary. Yes, the assistant to the traveling secretary needs his own secretary, George Costanza.
Again, what? Like, how is George's job this important?
Right. And this is
what does he even do?
He doesn't do anything. This is where his heart's in the right place. He even says, he's like, if I get an attractive one, I'm never going to get any work done.
Right.
Like the fair.
Okay.
So he gets this really efficient lady who also plays a Mo on Home Improvement, who's like the producer for Binford for a brief period of time. But anyway.
Of course you would. Yeah, no,
I'm Joe Morello.
Of course you'd bring that up.
But he turns out to be so attracted to her efficiency that they have the sex. You know what I'm saying? Like it backfires.
And he ruins it.
Yeah, but he didn't mean to. This is like another feel bad for George thing.
The moral of the story is that he got what he was looking for and he liked that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like what he should have really picked was somebody he didn't want.
Fair.
Because then he would hate it.
Then he would hate it, right.
No. A better way to reach the bra would be to undo the jacket, then go around the back of the shirt.
You're incredible.
Next up is the race. This is where Jerry finally, and they say this in the show, he finally dates a girl named Lois, because of his Superman obsession.
I mean, yes. It's surprising it took this long.
Yeah.
Where's Lois?
She couldn't make it.
I can't believe you're really going out with a woman named Lois.
I know, finally.
So there's this guy that he raced in high school, and Jerry did cheat by accident.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy challenges him. They have a race. Jerry again wins. It's a funny bit where he knocks Elaine and he's like hugging Lois, and he winks at the camera like George Reeves used to do in the 60s.
Yeah.
Superman.
I get it. There's like a little callback.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't mean Christopher Reeve. I mean George Reeves.
It always was confusing to me that there's like the 60s one kind of has the same name as the 70s one.
This is also where Elaine gets blacklisted at this good Chinese food place. So
okay. Like this shit.
Remember that one?
Okay. So this is actually like one of my more favorite things.
Okay.
It's the whole idea of Elaine like trying to get the like delivery or whatever.
Yes.
Like it's like
she does the janitor's closet.
Yeah. She and then there's like a lady that thinks she's the janitor now, and then Elaine tries to like, because the address is so valuable to her, she like starts like cleaning the apartment or whatever.
It's so good.
Like it's ridiculous. Like this to me is one of the first real signs of scummy Elaine, like
George Elaine,
like opportunistic Elaine, like the like Elaine where she'll like do like really like messed up shit to get what she wants, like, and it's like what?
Yeah, you raised a good point there, because up to about season 5 or 6, she was the most morally conscious of the four. Well, yeah. I guess Kramer really is.
But I would say this Chinese one is really where the descent, I started to notice it, was like, this is kind of not all right what she's doing. Like, she's like deceiving this business, and like she's also like deceiving like a landlady and like all these like other people, all just to get something as fucking stupid as Chinese food, and she could just go there anyway.
Must have been good food. Quinn.
Yeah.
Also, her boyfriend is a communist, which leads to, through a series of issues, George Steinbrenner thinks that George is a communist. This leads to him going to Cuba to see Fidel Castro, and it's the same bit where you see Castro from behind, and he's just as annoying as Steinbrenner.
Gracias, el comandante. Gracias. Muy.
And I would be honored if you would be my guest for dinner tonight at the presidential palace. There will be girls there, and I hear some pretty good food. Of course, the problem with parties is you invariably have to eat standing up, which I don't care for. But on the other hand, I don't like to balance a plate on my lap either. Once when I was at a party, I put my plate on someone's piano. I assure you, if I had not been a dictator, I would not have been able to get away with that one.
Then we have The Switch. This is one of my favorite ones of this season. One of my favorite Seinfeld episodes. I don't love a lot of these. I like a lot of them, but I don't love them. This is the one where Jerry is dating a girl that never laughs. Her roommate thinks he's hysterical. So he and George have this tremendous scene. This is where George finally comes up with an idea. Why doesn't Jerry ask his girlfriend to have a threesome with her and the roommate?
You know, I don't know the exact pronunciation, but I believe It's menage a trois.
It turns out she's into it, right? And this leads to some classic lines where Jerry's like, I'd have to get new friends. I'd have to get orgy friends. All kinds of robes and lotions. I'd have to grow a mustache.
Don't you know what it means to become an orgy guy? It changes everything. I'd have to dress different. I'd have to act different. I'd have to grow a mustache and get all kinds of robes and lotions and... I'd need a new bedspread, new curtains. I'd have to get thick carpeting and weirdo lighting. Of course, I'd have to get new friends. I'd have to get orgy friends.
And this is where George has an oft-quoted line, which is,
Are you crazy? This is like discovering plutonium by accident!
but this is also the episode where we meet Kramer's mom, Babs.
Oh boy, this.
And we find out here for the first time here in midway through season 6, Kramer's first name, what is it, Quinn?
Cosmo Kramer.
Cosmo.
Cosmo.
I don't know why, but this reveal was like a big deal.
They hyped it,
like,
Quinn.
but it was like big amongst normal people who would talk about forever from this point. He was Cosmo Kramer, and like it was like this. It was like this defining shift or something like that. That it's like this huge moment that we know his name is Cosmo Kramer.
Cosmo Kramer,
right? And I guess. Maybe what it is it signaled to the audience that, wow, Kramer's like so zany. It opens the door for the zane.
Because
like,
his name's
even
Cosmo.
more. He's like not realistic in any way. Maybe that's why it was like so heralded or whatever. Like I remember this being like a big fucking deal. Like everyone was like talking about it, right?
Well, because we hadn't known his name. This is 94, 95 almost. Show's been on since 1990 in earnest.
Yeah.
I mean, no one knew his first name. Pretty well done. Now, did you know there was an unproduced episode known as The Bet or The Gun that never happened in season 2? But in that script, Kramer's first name was revealed. And you know what it was? Conrad.
Huh.
Chat me up about Kramer's first name.
Tremendous episode. This also has another subplot with George dating a girl that he believes is throwing up every time they go out to eat. And it has one of those classic, like, horrible George lines.
Every time we go out to eat, the minute we're done eating, she's running for the bathroom.
So you're concerned?
Elaine, of course I'm concerned. I'm paying for those meals.
Next up is another great one from this season, The Label Maker. This is where Tim Whatley returns, no beard. He makes out with Elaine. This is where we find out that Tim Whatley re-gifted the Label Baby Jr. to Jerry.
I think this is the same one I gave him. He recycled this gift. He's a re-gifter.
And Peter Melman is the one that, like, coined that term. He was very good writer.
I gotta say,
Seinfeld.
I don't know if this is the first, and it probably definitely isn't. But this whole like Seinfeld making up you're a this or you're a that.
The low talker, the high talker. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It's starting to become like a thing in this season, right?
It was.
Like it's like where they're like a re-gifter and like I'm trying to think of some other ones like you said, high talker, low talker,
Yada, yada, yada.
yada yada. Like these things that are like it's observational humor, but putting a label on it.
No pun intended with this episode.
With no pun intended. But I'm saying the concept of like labeling types of people, like is like
the close talker
becomes like a whole Seinfeld thing,
and
like,
people still do it to this day.
Well, I feel like these terms left the show, meaning they became part of the vernacular of "don't be a re-gifter."
Right?
Like like Seinfeld had this weird touch, this effect. It could coin these terms for certain stuff, like negative aspects of people that you label them as, and it was just like a thing.
Spongeworthy, master of my domain, like all that stuff. Also, through a series of Three's Company-esque circumstances, Jerry and Newman wind up together at the Super Bowl.
Who goes anywhere with Newman?
Well, he's merry.
He is merry, I'll give him that.
Meanwhile, George's girlfriend has a male roommate who looks a lot like him, but he has a little bit more hair, and he convinces her to have him move out.
This whole thing where George is like he could not abide this guy.
Yes.
Doesn't George almost get like roped into moving in or some shit? Like,
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But the big blow is that he loves her velvet couch.
You know, if it was socially acceptable.
I know you would drape yourself in velvet.
I've said that before?
Many times. You love velvet. You want to live in velvet. Everything with the velvet.
And then when she finally has him move out, they come over to watch the Super Bowl. They're sitting on a towel.
Yeah.
Because the couch was his. Next up is the Scofflaw. This one features John Lovitz.
Yep.
Remember, he's the guy that said he had cancer, but he never had cancer, but he had a toupee. And this leads to a brief arc with Toupee George.
Yes.
Remember Toupee George?
It's very minor
it's
and
a
rare.
few episodes, but
Toupee George.
Everyone hates it. They're like, get that fucking thing off your head.
Isn't there like a really funny moment later where doesn't like Elaine rip it off? Or she's like, enough!
I hate this thing!
Yeah, it's just like enough already. Yeah. Like, it's just terrible.
The Scofflaw is a guy that has avoided the parking ticket. It's Newman. Meanwhile, Jake Jarmel, who was an ex-Elaine boyfriend, he returns.
Elaine boyfriend.
He's an author. Remember?
I love shit like that.
Yeah.
Like,
she loves his glasses, and he won't tell her where he got them. But she bumps into somebody who has the same glasses, so she gets them switched. And also in this one, Mr. Lipman makes like the cameo. He returns because he's starting his own publishing company.
Yes.
If this Jake Jarmel book does, what I think it's going to do, if I can get this whole thing off the ground, then I think I'll have something for you.
Oh, Mr. Lipman.
I remember this where like
he
Lipman
like comes back sometimes.
Like Lipman coming back is weird. Like it's just weird to me. Even when I remember seeing that live, I was like, "Why? What? He's back?"
No spoilers, folks, but he even returns in season 9.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like Lipman is not like ever really gone. He's just like not day to day anymore.
He's like Samu. He's always watching.
Yeah,
Lipman is. They must have liked the guy Richard Fancy plays, and they must have liked him.
Well, to me, it just plays again. It's like, you know what? It's very fitting that any Elaine boss never really goes away, like because they're all just weird.
They are all weird. Like he's quirky and weird. Then what they aired was a 1-hour special known as Highlights of 100. They did 100 episodes.
100 episodes. That's a lot. During the course of which George, Elaine, Kramer, and I have had many experiences, both positive and negative. Well, mostly negative.
And this would later be supplanted in the final season by The Chronicle, which is like the... Remember they did the finale, but they also did like the big recap show
of everything.
Like Cheers kind of did.
Yeah.
So this was good at the time, and it still runs in syndication, but it only goes up to part of season 6, whereas The Chronicle, as it's called,
the whole series.
Does the whole series. Then we have The Beard, where Elaine is a beard, and you can look up what that means. George is with a bald lady.
You're rejecting somebody because they're bald.
So?
You're bald!
No, I'm not. I was bald. Elaine.
I don't like this thing! And here's what I'm doing with it!
And Jerry insists that he doesn't watch Melrose Place, but he's dating a cop who puts him up to a lie detector. Polygraph, if you will.
That is
not one of my favorites.
I gotta say, though, that is one of the most ridiculous ways to get a lie detector bit in the show.
Yeah.
Like, can you just like...
Melrose Place.
Like, it's like Melrose Place.
It's
like,
true.
What a weird... What?
It's true. The Kiss Hello, which is where Jerry doesn't want to do the Kiss Hello in his building. Remember, like...
Okay, this is actually, like, I feel like a funny observation on life. Like, in general, the whole, like, the kiss hello is, like, it's a very, like, thing you do. It's fun because it has rules and shit, and it's funny.
It is funny, but Jerry's like, he wants nothing to do with it.
Ah, well, thank you very much.
For what?
For putting my picture up on that wall. I'm like Richard Dawson down there now. And every person I see engages me in this long, boring, tedious conversation. I can't even get out of the building.
But also, remember Elaine's friend has like the 80s hair, and Kramer's the only one that likes it. That's also mentioned. It's okay. The next one is the doorman. Jerry's going to see Elaine at Mr. Pitt's building, and the doorman is like unnecessarily antagonistic. It's Jerry's friend in real life, Larry Miller.
Woo, woo, woo. Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm just going up to see Elaine Bennis.
Bennis. There's no one here by that name.
Oh, she's house sitting for Mr. Pitt.
Ah, house sitter.
Yeah.
What are you, the boyfriend? Here for a quickie?
Can I just go up?
Well, I get it. Why waste time making small talk with the doorman? I should just
Shut up and do my job opening the door for you.
The most notable things here are Poppy returns briefly, the bro versus the man's-ear.
Ah, yes.
Frank Costanza, he's well built, Quinn.
Tell him, Kramer.
He had breasts.
What do you mean breasts?
Big breasts.
So what? A lot of older men have that.
No, not these. These were real hooters.
So this shit is actually probably the best thing in this episode. If I had to say, like, it's one of the more memorable things.
Frank's got boobies,
right? But it's basically like 30 years ago or something. Whatever Frank says, he had this like idea, like basically like for men that have like a more bigger they're busty
pecs,
I suppose, right? It's like, well, women have the bra to like keep that in check,
right?
But women or men need some like equivalent, and he came up with the bro.
Except we gotta do something about the name.
Why? What's wrong with bro?
No, bro's no good. Too ethnic.
All right, you got something better?
How about the man's ear?
Man's ear.
That's right. A brassiere for a man. The man's ear. Get it?
It just basically leads to a funny scene, essentially, where Kramer and Frank are like testing like bro prototypes or some shit, and they're like just the two of them in a room, and Estelle walks in
with George,
and Estelle says, "Oh my god!" Like it just makes like a big fucking scene, and it's like just really funny.
And they also have the argument of what to call it, bro versus man's ear,
right?
Which is based on Larry David wanted one and the writers wanted another. What name do you like better?
I like bro better just
I.
because it's just faster to say. Man's ear, it also sounds like very. Nobody calls. I don't know. Do women does like your wife call her bra a brassiere?
She's never said that word in her life.
Exactly.
Nobody
says that.
Most people under 81 don't say that anymore.
Like literally, bra is the shortening of brassiere.
Yes,
like,
that's literally what it is.
Like nobody fucking says brassiere.
I like bro better.
Yeah.
I think bro is a better name.
Bro.
The Jimmy. This is a very big Kramer episode. This is where
you're speaking my language.
This is a zany one, right? Yeah. This is where there's a guy at a health club that talks in the third person, but Elaine doesn't know that, so Elaine thinks that he's talking about some other guy. But meanwhile, Kramer had Novocaines.
Hey, talk time! Talk time!
Okay. Hey, go ahead. You got it. He got it.
Oh, please, go ahead.
No, you were here.
No, please, I insist. I'll grab the next one.
So it turns out that Jimmy is talking in third person. Elaine doesn't realize it at the end. The bottom line is Jimmy punches Kramer at one point, which leads to him once again not being able to speak as he normally would. So Mel Torme is still convinced, and they sing. You remember When You're Smiling? Or no, I forget what song it is, but we'll have it dumped in here. I think it's When You're Smiling, right?
I don't remember, but it basically just leads to all these wacky situations.
When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you.
And Jerry Seinfeld, I'm sure this is the real Jerry Seinfeld wrote this. He's like, he's talking about Mel Torme. He's like, I don't want to watch a man sing a song and they sway or whatever. It's just very funny.
Hey, you want to go see the Velvet Fog?
The Velvet Fog?
Yeah, Mel Torme. That's his nickname.
What the hell is a Velvet Fog?
Do you want to go or not?
I can't watch a man sing a song.
What, are you crazy?
They get all emotional, they sway. It's embarrassing.
But also, this is where Tim Watley, he has Penthouse in his office, remember? And Jerry thinks that he's getting gassed by him and being put out and shit's going on. Wacky episode.
Love it.
Right up your alley. The Doodle is the next one. The only thing I'm going to mention here is the Mackinac peaches. Remember Kramer and Newman?
Yeah.
Which are fictional peaches that are only ripe once a season or whatever, like a week.
Sounds like something very made up.
Yes.
Well, they're in.
What's in?
The Mackinac peaches, Jerry. The Mackinac peaches.
And also Krista Miller, who was Drew Carey's show.
Yes.
And later Scrubs. She's in this episode. I do not like this episode.
This though touches on it's amazing some of the actresses that got to be like just Jerry girlfriends. Like, of course, Drew Carey's shows What's Her Head?
Kristen Miller, yeah.
I forget her name in that show, but she's like a regular. She's one of the main four cast. Kate. Yeah,
she's in the entire.
She's the Elaine
almost
of Drew Carey show. She's literally the Elaine of the show.
Yes, because she's like one of the boys, right?
Yeah,
you're right about that.
I hear you've been going out with George Costanza. How did you know?
Everybody knows. George told me he thinks you're totally cute and everything. He said that. Do you like George?
Yeah, he's cool.
No, I mean, do you like him or do you like him? Like.
We're getting close to the end of season 6, folks. A lot of wackiness in this, right? Can we just say the Fusilli Jerry? 2 notable big things here, maybe more. Kramer gets the wrong vanity plates. What are they, Quinn?
You are the ass man.
Ass man, that's
ass
right.
Man. Unbelievable moment, by the way.
Ass man? No, these don't belong to me. I'm not the ass man. I think there's been a mistake.
What's your name again?
Cosmo Kramer.
Cosmo Kramer. You are the ass man.
That is one of those memeable, you see it on, you are the ass man.
You are the ass man. And what I like about it is early on is a throwaway. Kramer's it's probably a proctologist.
Yeah.
And we find out at the very end, it was indeed a proctologist who was supposed to get the plates. It's funny. But also, this is the debut of who would become a recurring character, played by Patrick Warburton, David Puddy.
Yes, Puddy.
Fucking love Puddy.
Hey, David.
Oh, hi, Jerry.
Hey, what's the story? I hear you doing my move.
What move?
What move? My move. The one I told you about. You used it on Elaine?
Your move? What, are you kidding? I was doing that before I knew you. Oh, you told me that was the ending.
The ending's the whole thing. Without the ending, it's nothing. You had nothing.
Oh, that ending was so obvious. You could have figured that out anyway. Didn't need you to tell me that stupid twist.
Twirl.
Whatever, I don't even do it.
Oh, yeah, I know. You do the pinch.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Puddy is the weird, I don't give a shit boyfriend of Elaine. Right. On the face, I really don't understand why Elaine is dating this man ever.
Because she thinks he's good looking. That's the only reason.
But he's
and the sex
also
is good.
The longest term boyfriend Elaine has throughout the entire show. One of the only ones. I don't remember her having a steady, if you will.
No, she doesn't have a steady. You're right.
She leaves Puddy multiple times. She always comes back to him. He's a complete idiot. He doesn't. Again, they don't make sense as a couple in any way.
He's so funny though.
Yeah,
the actor Patrick Warburton plays him as this kind of just squinting all the time, kind of not there.
He's very it's not that he's stupid.
No,
he just doesn't.
Not.
He that's not what he's supposed to be. He's he just doesn't give a shit.
He's just not there.
He just doesn't give a shit, and it's really funny, and it does not fit Elaine,
at all, really,
because Elaine's like them, where she over observes stuff and micro manages and overthinks things, and dating Puddy, what?
She'd be better with a Jake Jarmel, for example. Yeah. But this is also where Frank Costanza, the Fusilli Jerry statue, gets shoved up his ass. Remember, he's like, "Oh, chata," or whatever at the end. There's a lot of outtakes that are funny.
Where's your friend Kramer?
I don't know why.
Because I'm looking for him, that's why. He stopped short.
What do you mean?
In a car with my wife. He stopped short. You think I don't know what that's about? That's my old move. I used it on Estelle 40 years ago. I told everybody about it. Everybody knows. I stopped short.
Really? Stopping short?
How dare you stop short with my wife?
Come on, Frank, relax. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Think I don't know? Ass man! To think I almost split the profits on the man's ear with you.
Bro.
Man's ear! Bro! Man's ear! Frank.
God. We have the Diplomats Club, which I don't really like, but this is where Deborah Jo Rupp, who obviously would go on to be Kitty in that 70s show.
Right.
The mom. She is Jerry's manager that is extra concerned because the pilot from the plane Jerry was on will be in the audience for his act.
By the way, Jerry, I don't want you to freak out, but the pilot is going to be in the audience.
Who?
Remember the plane we took here? The pilot is going to be sitting out there watching the show.
I don't care. Why are you telling me this?
And
I remember this one. This is another where I'm like, is that Kathy Griffin one? But no,
it's Kitty.
Yeah, it's Kitty.
It's Kitty.
It's close. It's another notable person as his manager.
It is close. And in this episode, again, through a series of unfortunate circumstances, Elaine is fired by Mr. Pitt because he thinks that she's trying to kill him.
This is funny because isn't there like a sad flashback of all the Pitt incidents, which it's not even like a full season. Like as if like she's been with Mr. Pitt forever.
Right.
Like, it's just like really funny.
It's only like 8 episodes he's in, if that.
There's
right?
there's almost a humorous montage with like sappy music, and it's like really, really funny.
And it's all stuff of him being insane, like the socks.
It's all the socks is notably in it. That's because I always feel like I see the socks incident more in that like
montage
that's montage than anything else, and it's just God. It's like this is always interesting to me that Pitt was so short term because he felt long term because he was so crazy, right?
Yes,
but
he's not in that many episodes.
This to me is like the next chapter of Elaine Boss.
Yes,
right.
We'll get to him.
Like this is the official like end of the first Crazy Boss.
Yes,
or the second Crazy Boss.
Second. I should mention. I forgot to mention this. Mr. Pitt is played by an English actor named Ian Abercrombie. Just so everyone knows,
that sounds like what his name would be. Abercrombie, of course.
The next episode, the penultimate of season 6,
the penultimate,
as Quinn would say, as he gets nice and comfy there, is the face painter. This is where David Puddy returns, and he's a big fan of the New Jersey Devils.
Wow, this one's here? I thought this was
this is 6.
I thought this was like a post get back together like
6.
Way later.
No,
this whole fucking incident. Yeah.
This is where like Elaine's like, you can't gotta support the team.
Yeah. yeah.
What is that?
I painted my face.
You painted your face?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, support the team.
Well, you can't walk around like that.
Why not?
Because it's insane?
Oh, hey, you gotta let them know you're out there. This is the playoffs.
And then finally, the season finale of season 6. This is May of 1995, to timestamp that. Bette Midler is in this episode.
Yes.
This is known as the understudy, where Jerry's girlfriend is an understudy for Bette Midler. Okay?
Right.
Now, this is actually done as a parody of the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding bit, which we talked about in the archives.
But this also involves a like softball game of like comedians or something. Like
where George barrels into Raquel Welch,
right?
Bette Midler, who's playing catcher,
right? And so, like, first of all, I feel like this is positioned in a way that it's almost like Battle of the Network Stars or something. Like it's positioned in a way that like, oh, when all the like people in the comedy business, they're like, it pretends like they're a union or some shit, and they play community softball and stuff like this. Is none of this seems accurate in any way.
Why is George involved, by the way?
A friend of,
I guess,
like,
Yankees.
You got to fill the positions, Joe.
You gotta
like you ever been to a company softball game of any kind?
No.
Like sometimes there's
Thankfully.
like friends.
Didn't you?
I got involved in somebody else's company, and I was one one of those people.
You
but
I forgot.
I wasn't the only one.
I know.
The thing is, it was like the team was like there was like 4 people or something on the team that were part of the one company, but it was filled out with all their like friends. They were a lively group, but I understood.
Very lively.
Now I understand this with the improv softball.
I'm sure you do. The other thing that I remember about this episode is Jerry's girlfriend is very dramatic about everything except when her relative dies.
Yeah.
Oh no. My Frankfurter. My Frankfurter fell. Oh no. It was really good. I can't believe that I dropped it.
She's just like
so
a parody.
dramatic.
Like it's like so ridiculous.
But then like her relative dies and she's fine.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm fine.
So you don't cry when your grandmother died. But a hot dog makes you lose control.
But also, this is where Elaine thinks that the ladies at a Korean manicurist are making fun of her in Korean.
Yes.
So she brings in Frank, who obviously...
Father would look at me and say, "No, inawa shiyo," which means, this is not my kind of guy.
So Frank, he was in Korea.
Korean War vet.
So Elaine gets the idea that, he'll understand what they're saying.
And they are making fun of her.
But doesn't it turn out that one of the ladies is...
New Frank from
Korea and was like he had an affair with her.
A tryst,
or
if you will?
I don't know. Like, is it implied that Frank was not married yet when this happened? So it was just a girlfriend then.
I think it's before he was married.
Right.
Finally, we'll get more on this. But at the very end, towards the end of the episode of An Elaine's Story, we meet John O'Hurley, who plays the character of Jay Peterman.
Then, in the distance, I heard the bulls. And I began running as fast as I could. Fortunately, I was wearing my Italian Capto Oxfords. Sophisticated, yet different, without making a huge fuss about it. Rich, dark brown calfskin leather, matching linen vamp. Men's whole and half sizes, 7 through 13, price $135.
Peterman makes his debut. It's like a quick cameo. We'll get more on him. So that's season 6. Overall, I'm going to be honest, not a sterling season, but it's funny.
It's got a couple of, I feel like it doesn't have complete episodes that are amazing as much as it has a lot of little moments that are, embedded in your head, like Poppy peed on the couch.
Right.
The improv softball game.
Plutonium by accident.
Right. It has all these, good moments.
Yeah.
It's a moment season.
It's a moment season because it's very... It's very quick. There's a lot of scenes and a lot of stories here. They actually will settle that down a bit in season 7. And guess what, folks? We're going to talk about season 7 on the other side of this break. In the meantime, go do what you got to do. Maybe pee on your sofa.
Yeah.
Whatever works. No judgments here.
You don't have to move then.
Exactly.
You're probably already on the sofa.
You're already on the sofa. On the other side of this break, season 7 of Seinfeld, when more Acid-Wash Memories returns.
Take a bow, the night is over, this masquerade is getting older, lights are low, the curtains down.
Seinfeld, my son George's show will be here 5 times a week.
Jerry, George, Elaine, Kramer, every day? Oh, no.
Yes!
I can't cook for all those people 5 times a week. I can't.
Seinfeld premieres Monday at 7:30 on Fox.
On the next Home Improvement, Tim's getting Al's love life back in shape.
All right, now hit the deck. Give me 20 right now.
I'm free tonight.
But has he created a monster?
There's something you need to know.
He ripped open his shirt and said, "Hey, I've got hair on my chest."
Only one man can tame the terror of Al.
You mean me?
My body's quivering right now just thinking about this.
Home Improvement.
Monday at 7:30 on Fox 29.
Can I have a funny meal, please?
Bon appetit.
Just because a place charges only $1.99 for a child's meal doesn't mean they should skimp on the food. At Wendy's, we don't. Take our $1.99 hamburger kids meal. You get a great hamburger made with fresh beef and served hot off the grill. An order of fries, a drink, or a cold creamy Frosty, plus a great toy. It's a heck of a deal for $1.99.
At Wendy's, you don't pay more, you just get more.
And now we return to more acid-washed memories.
Hey, welcome back to Acid-Wash Memories. This is episode number 73. We're talking about Seinfeld seasons 6 and 7. I'm Joe Morata. That's Michael Quinn.
Howdy ho.
Hello there, Michael. Hope you guys are liking this here as we do a deep dive into every season of Seinfeld.
Unbelievable, really.
4-part series. Yeah, it is unbelievable. But I think it's a sitcom where to try to cram it into one episode, it just wouldn't work. There's
It'd be
too
rough.
much. Yeah, there's too much going on. So we left off with the end of season 6. And as we get into season 7 here, this is September 95 to May of 96. I will say they were number 2 in the ratings for this season.
They went down.
They're number 2.
Is there a reason? Is there some show we're missing here?
Yes. Home Improvement
was number 1?
Yeah. So Home Improvement.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, despite maybe it's a very 90s sitcom and it wasn't edgy, or it wasn't, groundbreaking the way Seinfeld was. It was a very popular sitcom over on ABC.
Yes, so I do remember Tim Allen was having a moment in the 90s where he was like the guy.
He did the Santa Claus in 94.
Right.
Don't forget.
So it's actually not too surprising.
Should we do a Home Improvement episode?
I guess, but...
You can do that in one episode, though.
Yeah, Home Improvement's not kind of like...
It doesn't have the density of a Seinfeld.
Absolutely not.
No.
It just has like some moments and stuff.
It's a very funny show.
Yeah.
I always loved Home Improvement.
It's just like, I feel like Home Improvement, you're right. It did have a zeitgeist thing going on because there was like a time when like Heidi was a big deal and like all this shit.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
JTT. Like a lot of people from that show were like had this moment where they were like huge in the pop culture.
Richard Karn is still piggybacking off of Home Improvement.
Wow.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Fine. By the way, Family Feud host, so was John O'Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. But anyway.
I'm surprised Wilson wasn't the host of Family Feud at some point.
Unfortunately, he had passed away in 2003, or else maybe he would have been.
Honestly, you know what he would have been is the host of Jeopardy because he's supposed to be like wise and shit.
He's got a great voice, too, for it. He did do KFC commercials. But anyway, right before this season of Seinfeld, season 7, something happened. Home Improvement and Seinfeld made syndicated television history. Now, we did an episode on syndicated TV. Oh, my gosh! But both had surpassed the 100-episode mark.
Right.
And both were entering into syndication in this season. And it was the first time where the number 1 and the number 2 shows that were currently airing premiered in syndication at the same time.
That's kind of weird, actually.
Isn't that?
Well, yeah, and that kind of goes along with the it was weird that you could already watch like repeats whenever you wanted of a show that was on right now.
Which I did for both.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I definitely did. They were both on Fox.
Was that where they started syndication? Because I do feel like they ended up like all over, like TBS picked them up.
Later, yeah. Well, and Seinfeld was on here in New Jersey on Pix 11.
Right.
They were at 11 p.m. 11 on 11.
There was a time, and I do remember this, I think this is notable to say, I remember seeing articles that the syndicated version of Seinfeld, like after the 11 o'clock news, was like extremely popular. Like it was like getting like really good ratings.
It's an institution, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It became like this thing that people just like kept on. They would like not even change to like the late shows because it was just like, well, there's an episode of Seinfeld, whatever.
And it's a great show to run at 11 o'clock. I'm not
Honestly,
kidding.
It was a good answer for Fox for the late night shows because they didn't have their own. It was like, we'll just run a rerun of Seinfeld. And weirdly, it just worked. People were just like, this is very watchable at this hour.
It's appropriate for that time slot, don't you think? 11 p.m. Like it really is. It just works in that time slot. So season 7, folks, I'm going to spoil this now. This is the last season with Larry David. Okay, who had been the co-creator, the executive producer. And as much as people try to downplay what Jerry does, and I understand why, Larry David probably was the more of the driving force creatively, but Jerry also had to sign off on everything and watched everything.
So it was ultimately a partnership.
It was, but this is the last full season with Larry David. And I'm also going to say this. The first 3 episodes of this season were written by Larry David to set the tone. Because if you recall, season 6, we just talked about, a funny moment type season, but very fragmented.
Yes.
Very all over the place. Larry David wanted to actually dial all of that back a bit for this season.
Rein it in
a bit, make it more about the foundation of Seinfeld, which is the everyday life and arcs and stuff like that. So we opened the season in September 95 with The Engagement. This is where Jerry and George make a pact at the beginning of the episode to get their shit together. They're like, what are we doing anymore?
Right.
What are we doing? What in God's name are we doing? What? Our lives. What kind of lives are these? We're like children. We're not men.
No, we're not. We're not men.
We come up with all these stupid little reasons to break up with these women.
I know. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Are we going to be sitting here when we're 60 like 2 idiots?
We should be having dinner with our sons when we're 60.
What he does in a great Seinfeldian callback is he calls up Susan Ross.
This was great because, yes, I remember them discussing and he's like, remember Susan? And first of all, when I was a kid, I was like, the fuck's Susan? Like, who the fuck is that? Because it was like so long ago in kid life.
Season 4.
Yeah, it felt like an eternity ago. I like didn't even remember who he was talking about.
He shows up at her door, proposes to her on a whim. She agrees.
It's George.
George? George, what is it?
Will you marry me?
Of course, by the end of the episode, he immediately regrets it.
But is this the one that involves the him like walking on the beach or whatever? Like,
yeah, this is the beach.
Yeah,
which they reuse for other things later.
Yeah.
That trope. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right about sitting on the bench.
Yeah, he's
watching
like at
the beach.
Coney Island or something.
I think I think it is, or Rockaway maybe. This is where, in a very wink at NBC, Susan's like, George, we gotta watch Mad About You.
Yeah.
Remember, that becomes like a little bit of a theme throughout this season.
Like you said, this is why I love this relationship. It immediately becomes like the bane of George's existence.
Yeah.
Like the biggest mistake he ever made was like proposing to Susan.
Within the episode, he already regrets it.
Everything in his life is crappier, like
Yes,
immediately,
because of
and
Susan.
everything involves like trying to like get around Susan.
Yes. And what's funny too, Quinn, is if you think about it, like Susan's not even bad.
She isn't. She's just
George just doesn't like her.
I think a lot of it is based around the fact that Susan is a normal person, and the crew, the 4 people, they're not.
Yeah, that's what it is.
The biggest part of it
That is the
that
biggest
like
part of it.
she is not involved in their schemes and their bullshit. They're the broken ones.
Yeah.
Like Susan's just a normal freaking person.
Yeah, with
Like,
her own problems, but relatively normal. Yeah. Also, this is, remember, Jerry and George made a pact. This is where Jerry then breaks up with his girlfriend because, in his words, she eats her peas one at a time.
But she eats her peas one at a time. You've never seen anything like it. It takes her like an hour to finish them. I mean, we've had dinner other times. I've seen her eat corn niblets, but she scooped them.
What about the pact?
What?
What happened to the pact? We were both gonna change. We shook hands on a pact. Did you not shake my hand on a pact?
You stuck your hand out, so I shook it. I don't know about a pact.
The next episode is the postponement, where George convinces Susan to postpone their wedding. Meanwhile, Kramer and Jerry finally, and there's another callback from the Chinese restaurant, Jerry's going to finally get to see Plan 9 from outer space.
Exciting.
In the theaters, right? However, Kramer brings in an outside coffee. It's very hot, and he spills it on himself. And this is obviously a parody of the lady that really did get very seriously injured by spilling McDonald's coffee on her. That's not a frivolous lawsuit, by the way.
I know.
She got fucking
But
burned.
this is what brings us that attorney.
Jackie Childs.
Yes.
We will see him in the next episode, yes.
You did me the biggest favor of my life. I spoke to a lawyer. We're suing for millions.
Suing? What for?
The coffee was too hot.
It's supposed to be hot.
Not that hot.
And that next episode is one of my favorites of the season, The Maestro. Do you remember this one?
Yes.
So this is where there's this guy named Bob Cobb. He insists on being called The Maestro.
The Maestro. He already has a good name.
Bob Cobb. There's a great bit where Jerry says it to George, and George is like, Bob Cobb? Like, he doesn't believe him. He's like, what the fuck is that?
Doesn't sound real.
Right.
Hey, George. Hey, you believe this guy? Bob Cobb.
Bob Cobb?
But he gets involved with Elaine, who thinks he's so cool,
Yeah.
and he's got this house in Tuscany, which is in Italy.
Now, this guy oozes like Elaine charm. Like this is like what Elaine is looking for, right?
Yes, but he's a douchebag.
Yeah,
Like, he is.
yeah, and Elaine is too. So
True. By the way, by this point, Elaine has like the curly down hair all the time.
She doesn't care.
The old like Elaine hair is
It's
gone
gone,
by
yeah.
season 7. It's like the curly-ish like hair. Anyway, so Kramer wants to sue the coffee place about his burns that he had. And this is where we get the debut of Jackie Childs. This is played by a guy named Phil Morris.
Who told you to put the bomb on? I didn't tell you to put the bomb on. Why'd you put the bomb on? You haven't even been to see the doctor. If you're gonna put a bomb on, let a doctor put a bomb on.
I guess I screwed up, huh, Jackie?
You damn right you screwed up. Where the hell did you get that damn bomb anyway?
The maestro.
The who? What are you talking about, maestro?
My friend, he's a conductor.
Oh, so a maestro tells you to put a bomb on and you do it?
So this on its face is just a Johnny Cochran like joke, right?
Yes.
It's like it's right on the nose.
Who was very much still in the zeitgeist because of the OJ trial, which as of September 95 when this aired was still not settled.
Right. So this was like very timely at the time. It was a character based off somebody who was seen on TV every single day.
Literally.
At this point in time. Like if you did not live, this is why we need to do something on OJ, because if you did not live through this, it was like the first thing on the news for like 3 years.
You couldn't avoid it. So Phil Morris, by the way, knew Johnny Cochran in real life. It's a little anecdote. Like they knew each other.
I did not know that, but
yeah. Poppy also makes a cameo on this because he knows somebody that has a house in Tuscany, because Jerry's obsessed with trying to get a house in Tuscany because the maestro is like, well, there's nothing there if you're looking.
Yeah.
And Jerry's like, I'm going to fucking get a house in Tuscany.
Just to spite him.
Yeah.
Is there anything there to rent?
See, 2 million lire. You give me the check.
No, I didn't actually want to rent it.
The keys. Here are the keys. You give me the check. 2 million lire. 1,700 American. Molto generoso.
I didn't say that I wanted to rent it. I was just wondering if there were houses there to rent.
See. This one.
And he does, and he arrives with Kramer, and they make a big scene, and Elaine and the maestro get all upset.
Hi, remember me? Yeah. So the guy forgot to mention that there's actually a good George plot with well because he buys the security guard a chair at Susan Ross, her uncle's store, and then the guy falls asleep in the chair, so it gets robbed. It's a funny show.
We move on to another one of my favorites from this season. This season's really good. The wink. George gets grapefruit in his eye at Monk's, and he keeps involuntarily winking.
Yes, which, okay, on his face, you know that's going to be a problem later.
Right.
Like you just, as soon as that happened, I remember seeing this episode live, I'm like, well, this is going to lead to some inadvertent shit,
yes.
right?
And that it does, Quinn, because at Yankee Stadium, where, as we know, George has a lot of influence.
Right, the most important man that works there for some reason.
Everyone has signed this birthday card for George Steinbrenner except Mr. Morgan, who is a guy that George works with. And George keeps winking inopportunely, like involuntarily, which leads, I think it's Mr. Wilhelm or one of the other people to think that George is not really saying what he's saying, right? This leads to Kramer somehow getting a hold of the card, framing it, giving it to a sick kid, Bobby, I think.
God, I remember this. It's so
in a
ridiculous.
hospital bed, right? And he's like, I need this back right now. No way. Who's your favorite player? Paul O'Neill. What if I get Paul O'Neill to hit 2 home runs for you? Remember that? Paul O'Neill is in the episode.
I know. It's weird.
He's like, I'm not a home run hitter. Remember that? How'd you get in here anyway?
Yeah, well, I promised him that you would hit him 2 home runs today.
What?
Yeah, you know, a couple of dingers.
You promised a kid in the hospital that I'd hit 2 home runs.
Yeah, what, no good?
No, it's no good. It's terrible. I mean, you don't hit home runs like that. It's hard to hit home runs. And where the heck did you get 2 from?
Well, 2 is better than 1.
That's ridiculous.
Oh,
I mean, I'm not a home run hitter.
Well, Babe Ruth did it.
He did not.
Oh, you're saying that Babe Ruth was a liar?
I'm not calling him a liar, but he wasn't stupid enough to promise 2.
Well, maybe I did overextend myself.
How the heck did you get in here anyway?
Yeah, that's also another, like, unexplained Kramer can just do whatever he wants.
Right.
Like, and to me, that is a perfect, like, understanding of the Kramer character. Like, that he could just wander into the Yankee locker room, like, easily. Like, because he's just the way he is. Like,
he bends physics, he bends, logic. It doesn't matter. It's Kramer, right? Meanwhile, Jerry is dating Elaine's cousin, Holly. This leads to Jerry, like, only ordering a salad at a steakhouse, and she thinks he's, like, a big puss for that. So she makes him mutton.
Yes.
Mutton, remember?
This episode's so good. There's so many things in this episode.
Everybody like mutton?
Mutton. Meanwhile, like, Holly keeps bringing up Grandma Mema and like this napkins and shit.
Yeah, this fucking napkins thing, right?
Who's Mema? Grandma Mema?
I don't know.
And Elaine is also dating a wake-up call guy. This episode is one of those, like, It's zany, but it's also awesome.
The layering on this episode is wonderful.
Yeah.
There's so many things going on.
So many things.
Yeah.
The wake-up call guy has dogs that are wearing bandanas that are the napkins from Emma because Jerry hid the mutton in there.
Now, if I recall, then Jerry gets like chased by dogs or some shit.
Yeah, or Elaine or somebody does,
because the mutton is in the coat.
Yes, I think it's Jerry. You're right. God, what an episode.
Thanks for the card. I loved it. Gosh, it made me feel good. You know, George, word has it that you were the brains behind the whole thing.
Oh, no, not just me. The whole organization, especially Mr. Morgan.
Morgan. You know, his name is conspicuously absent from this card. It's almost like he went out of his way not to sign it.
Oh, no. Morgan is a good man, sir.
You can stop kowtowing to Morgan. Congratulations, you've got his job.
The next one also is a huge one for me. The hot tub. Kramer gets a hot tub installed in his apartment. Park that one there, okay?
That, in and of itself, is like an insane concept.
Right. A hot tub in the apartment.
Yeah.
That water's going to get over 120 degrees.
Is that tolerable?
Oh, it's tolerable.
Isn't that the same temperature of the coffee that scalded you?
Well, I think it's a little cooler than that.
He doesn't have any running water?
I don't ask those kind of questions anymore.
Meanwhile, Elaine has a friend named Jean-Paul who is a marathon runner. I don't know if they say where he's from, but it's in the Caribbean.
This is another thing that has to do with a wake-up call.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So he had missed the Olympics because he didn't wake up in time. And Jerry, for some reason, in a selfless act, Jerry is determined to not let him oversleep for this marathon,
Yeah,
right?
Jerry's like offended that Jean Paul did not make it the first time.
Right.
Like he's like, he makes it his fucking mission.
Right.
So what happened? A snooze alarm, wasn't it?
Man, it wasn't the snooze. Most people think it was the snooze, but no snooze.
AM, PM.
Man, it wasn't AM, PM. It was the volume. Yes, the volume. There was a separate knob for the radio alarm.
Meanwhile, we got to mention, Elaine is now officially working for J. Peterman, the J. Peterman catalog, which is based on a real J. Peterman, John Peterman catalog that came out with these elaborate stories about their friggin' clothing products. And it's John O'Hurley playing them. And she's got to write this blurb about the Himalayan walking shoe. Okay. George at Yankee Stadium has discovered the act of being frustrated to look like he's busy at work. So when anyone comes in, he's like, ha ha, or whatever, right? So he gets sent to Houston to talk to the Astros, where these Texans keep using the terms, oh, that son of a bitch and that bastard, like in friendly terms.
I like your organization, George. We've been talking to a real friendly son of a bitch in the front office. Wilhelm, I think his name is.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Wilhelm, yeah.
He told us that George Costanza is going to be taking us bastards out on the town.
Meanwhile, Jean-Paul hears George talking like this, and he's not American, remember?
Right.
He calls a baby a bastard and a son of a bitch, and what he doesn't know is that the lady that has the baby is out of wedlock. She lives in Jerry's building, right? So like, aren't you a nice mommy, son of a beach, or whatever, right?
This is what I mean about the little
This one's
details.
insane.
But this is like all the episodes start being this. These like little if one little thing's mentioned, it's like a Chekhov's gun situation where it's like if there's like a thing mentioned, it will come back. There's going to be consequences, right?
This is a prime example of that, and this sets the tone for some later episodes, you know?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Jerry gets Jean-Paul to a very nice hotel. He gets the wake-up call, but he starts getting like a tizzy with the wake-up call guy.
Yeah.
Remember? And he's like nervous that the guy's not going to call. So he's like, we're going to my apartment.
419er.
Yes, I got it, sir. You only had to say it once.
I know, but it's a very important wake-up call, and I don't want to take any chances.
Every wake-up call I make is important. You're no more important than any of our guests.
Well, I just don't want to get into a whole thing with you here.
Now
but
you're through.
Yeah, I am, but I just fit.
Meanwhile, Kramer's fucking hot tub shorts the electricity in the building.
The place they thought would be the safe spot as far as like an electricity and waking up, the alarm clock, yada, 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 right?
And they make it to the race in time for Jean-Paul to enter. And as he's running and he starts getting ahead, you know how marathons, you know, the people hold out water for the people to drink or dump on themselves?
Right.
He grabs Kramer, who's very cold because he fell asleep in the cold hot tub. He grabs his coffee, and you hear off screen, he dumps it on himself. Again, a callback to the coffee burn.
Like an episode ago. Yeah.
Meanwhile, George is having fun on the phone with the Houston guys. He's like, you tell that son of a bitch, but like it's fun.
You tell that son of a bitch no Yankee is ever coming to Houston. Not as long as you bastards are running things.
Get a hold of yourself, Mr. Wilhelm. What's the matter with you?
Mr. Wilhelm, his immediate supervisor, thinks that he like legit is insane and lost his mind, so he sends him to George Steinbrenner, who's like, Costanza, you know what you need? A hot tub. And then it's them in a hot tub. And that's the that is a brilliant.
It's so good. This is what I mean. It's like, see this style here? I know this is going to sound stupid because I feel like this show ruined this style, but it's like Family Guy like really like took this concept of like 8,000 different unrelated things and they all come together at the end.
This is really well done.
Yeah.
This is the writers were not like this is the new crop of writers. Greg Cavett and Andy Robin wrote the younger guys.
By this point in the series, this became like I feel like the predominant storyline style of like Seinfeld. It was like this was like the format now.
This is a tremendous example of it.
Yeah.
Like literally awesome episode.
You know what I always think is like what's fascinating about these episodes? Imagine the like storyboarding of these things, like and having to keep track of all these things you're introducing is like that's what's impressive.
And they did a great job, these guys. The next one is probably one of the most famous Seinfeld ones, but I'm going to say it before we even say the title. I don't think it's that great. It's just very notable. It's the Soup Nazi.
Yeah, so the Soup Nazi.
I don't love this one.
So what I want to say about this before we start too, this episode, for whatever reason, I feel like if you were not watching Seinfeld by this point, I don't know why this episode specifically, I really don't understand why. Suddenly, this episode, for whatever reason, was like the talk of America or
weird,
something, right? Like,
it's not that good.
Literally, the week this aired, you could not escape this show. It was to the point where like people were like waiting to watch this one when it finally repeated.
Yeah.
Like it was like an event or something.
It's so
like,
weird.
I don't understand specifically why this episode, but if you missed this one and you heard about the Soup Nazi, it felt like the entire fucking country was now watching.
Yeah.
So, like it didn't, like the president of the United States was watching. So, like
Bill Clinton?
Like every single human in the United States was now watching this show because wow, that Soup Nazi episode.
It's so weird, man.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I mean, it has the most enduring catchphrase is no soup for you.
No soup for you, yeah.
Very good. You know something? No soup for you!
So the Soup Nazi, played by an actor named Larry Thomas, is based on a real guy that owned the soup stand known as Soup Kitchen International in New York City, Al Yaganeh.
I get so many people that come up to me and say, you know, I was in New York and I waited in your line, but you know, or I went to your soup stand, but it was closed for the summer. And I always have to say, like, I'm an actor. I'm not him.
He's briefly mentioned in Sleepless in Seattle, by the way, by Meg Ryan.
Weird.
But this, I don't know. I never loved this episode. I'll dump clips in. I like the way, like, George and Jerry order, like, all militaristically. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so
I do like that.
The premise is basically that essentially this soup is the best soup, period. Like, there's nothing touches it. It's so good, right?
This guy makes the best soup in the city, Jerry. The best.
And people are, like, obsessed with it. Shit, there's, like, lines out the door.
Jambalaya.
But you have to, like, behave yourself.
Right.
Or he'll just, like, say, like, you don't get it.
No
like,
soup for you.
Yes.
That's basically it. Like, Elaine, remember Elaine's funny. She's, like, banging on the counter. She's like, anybody ever tell you look like Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Scent of a Woman?
What is that right there? Is that lima bean?
Yes.
Never been a big fan. You know what? Has anyone ever told you look exactly like Al Pacino? You know, Scent of a Woman? Hoo-ah! Hoo-ah!
It touches a nerve with something becoming prestigious or something, and it's kind of ripping on the absurdity of, like, why do we give so much reverence to this thing? Like, you know what I mean? And the fact that people are, like, willing to try to, like, sneak back in and, like, all this shit just to, like, have this soup.
Okay.
Like, and it's kind of making fun of it. I think it's just, you know what it is, too? I think it's just a very relatable joke in general, because it's essentially talking about the absurdity of that.
Fair enough, Quinn.
And I don't know why. And part of me also thinks it was a timing thing, that the show was just big enough that it was essentially looking to capture any audience it had not captured yet. And whatever it was as this episode hit on, it did the trick. And after this, Seinfeld was like the #1 show, period, in America from this point forward. Like there was no matching it.
Fair enough. It's written by Spike Fierstein. The first episode written by him. He later did a talk show with Spike Fierstein. Remember that show?
Not really.
No one does. The next one is Secret Code, which I don't really like, but the most notable thing is George won't share his ATM code with Susan or anyone else. Kramer kind of figures it out, in this funny monologue.
But what tempts you? Huh? You're a portly fellow. Headed long in the waistband? So what's your pleasure? Is it the salty snacks you crave? No. Yours is a sweet tooth.
Get out of here.
Oh, you may stray, but you'll always return to your dark master, the cocoa bean. No, and only the purest syrup nectar can satisfy you.
I gotta go.
If you could, you'd guzzle it by the gallon. Ovaltine, Hershey's.
And through a series of circumstances, George winds up at dinner alone with Jay Peterman. Like, Elaine's not there. But then Jay Peterman finds out that his mom is, like, in serious, like, bad health. So George tells her the secret code because he thinks she's going to die. Yeah. And then she wakes up and she's like, Bosco! Remember?
Okay, I actually love the ending of this episode.
I don't like this one that much.
Bosco! And she just like yells like this shit in the sky.
Bosco!
Mama?
Quiet, it's a secret. Bosco! Bosco!
What are you trying to say?
Bosco!
I like that it's Bosco and not Nesquik. Like it's the weird
Very
chocolate
specific.
syrup.
Yeah.
Also, this is where Kramer joins the fire department. He like horns into the fire department, I should say.
I think that leads to a great scene where Kramer's like got the fire hat on and he's on the back of the truck. Like, or whatever. It's insane.
It is.
To me, that's like classic Kramer shit.
Again,
right?
like he defies logic sometimes.
To me, like sometimes Kramer doesn't even have to have a good story. It's more just putting Kramer in a dumb situation and like watching him do it.
And
like,
he does it.
That alone was really funny.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're right. The next one is the pool guy, where George makes friends with a pool guy at his health club named Ramon. I don't really care for that storyline. It's a weird episode. The big things here is where George feels now that Susan's encroaching on the group because she's hanging out with all of them now.
Oh, boy.
So he starts eating at Reggie's, the Bizarro diner, the blue diner.
Yeah.
You have no idea of the magnitude of this thing. If she is allowed to infiltrate this world, then George Costanza, as you know him, ceases to exist. You see, right now, I have relationship George, but there is also independent George. That's the George you know, the George you grew up with. Movie George, coffee shop George, liar George, bawdy George.
I love that George.
Me too. And he's dying, Jerry.
Meanwhile, Kramer gets a new number, 555 Filk. But people keep misdialing, thinking it's movie phone, 555 film.
This is great.
That's like a funny bit.
So, again, another, what if we put Kramer in this situation? So now Kramer's the movie phone guy.
And he's doing it like he's trying to do it.
So literally, he's like manually movie phoning. Like it's unbelievable.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone. If you know the name of the movie you'd like to see, press 1.
Come on.
Using your touch-tone keypad, please enter the first 3 letters of the movie title now. You've selected Agent Zero. If that's correct, press 1.
What?
You've selected Brown-Eyed Girl. If this is correct, press 1. Why don't you just tell me the name of the movie you selected?
This is the most Kramer shit possible.
It really is. And then the real movie phone voice makes a brief cameo at the end.
Hello, and welcome to your worst nightmare. I know you're in there, Cosmo, Kramer.
This is also where Newman does like the cannonball, like wearing the swimming costume. He's like, Ollie, Ollie, oxen free or whatever, and jumps in the pool. Anyway, next one is the sponge. by Peter Melman.
It's a great one.
So the contraceptive sponge that Elaine uses is being taken off the market, so she buys like a ton of them.
So I got to say this, first of all.
Yes.
Now, I remember my mother thinking this was like one of the funniest possible episodes. What I don't know, was the sponge a actual contraceptive, or was it like made up for this show?
No, it's a real thing.
And was it discontinued is the other question.
That I don't know anything about.
Because it seemed like this episode hit a note with women.
Well, it's about contraception for women.
Right, but I always wondered, even back then, was like, oh, were women like pissed off about this like thing being discontinued? Like, was it like a commentary on that?
It's
I don't know.
Out of my field of expertise, but the bit where Elaine's evaluating like that guy, to see if he's sponge worthy.
So yeah, basically, essentially, what happens is because there's now a limited supply of the sponges, and that they're like, according to her, they're like the best or some shit, right? Is like that, and she's like, I'm not going to use any other contraception but the sponge.
Yep.
She now has a limited supply of sponges. She has a lot more than most women because she bought up the whole thing.
Yes.
But she's now like taking interviews with prospective like people suitors before having sex with them about like, and she has like a checklist and all this shit.
And she's like, what are you gonna do about the sideburn? You do something about those sideburns, remember?
You gonna do something about your sideburns?
Yeah, I told you. I'm gonna trim my sideburns.
And the bathroom in your apartment?
Cleaned it this morning.
The sink, the tub, everything got cleaned?
Everything, yeah. It's spotless.
All right, let's go. Okay.
It's also a commentary on a real world issue. It's kind of like couch culture in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's like the women's revenge version.
Good.
Like, and that's like why it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the men are having to like interview.
I like it.
Like it's super funny
It's
episode.
well done.
It's also, it plays into like mean Elaine, but also I feel like this is the one time when like heel Elaine is the one being cheered for, because it's just like super funny and like a nice reversal of fortune.
It's well done, man.
Yeah.
The next one is The Gum, where Kramer and Lloyd Braun, an old friend of George's, are
Lloyd
associated.
Braun,
Remember him?
Yeah.
They team up to reopen the decrepit Alex Theater in New York. Now, the cashier at Monk's for most of the show is Ruthie Cohen, who never speaks. But this is where, like, she somehow, like, she doesn't like George, or George has a problem with Ruthie, and that's where George's car gets set on fire, and she's like, your car's on fire, her only speaking role.
Yeah.
It's you! Listen, lady, I got 6 minutes left on that meter, and I'm not budging until you admit you stole my $20. You're not so tough when you're not on your horse, are you, Ruthie?
Your car's on fire.
But this is where George is dating a girl.
But, well, because he's not actually dating her, because he's engaged. He's just interested in her because he's George,
who increasingly thinks that he has mental problems, and he keeps referencing the Institute while he's wearing the Henry VIII costume. That's part of the Alex Theater thing. It's a weird episode. The next one's more notable. The Rye.
Yes, I remember this one.
So the Rosses and the Costanzas are going.
Susan's parents.
Yes, are going to have dinner finally at the Rosses.
By the way, the concept of George's parents interacting with Susan's parents seems like insane to me.
Right.
Like,
that's true.
Frank Costanza? Like, are we kidding? And Estelle, like, are like with normal people? That doesn't seem like it should ever happen.
This is where there's the scene where Frank is like,
You got the hen, the chicken, and the rooster. The rooster goes with the chicken. So who's having sex with the hen? We'll talk about it another time. But you see my point here? You only hear of a hen, a rooster, and a chicken. Something's missing.
Something's missing, all right.
They're all chickens. The rooster has sex with all of them. That's perverse.
It's just like this dumbest bit. But anyway,
it's just sticking Frank in a weird situation, and it's funny.
This is where Jerry has to steal a marble rye from an old lady.
Yes.
And he takes, they do like a fake, like, purse snatching.
I don't remember why he has to.
Because the Costanzas need it or something like that.
Yeah.
But it gives the iconic, shut up, you old bag, as he's running down the street with the marble rye. Just so, like, unlikable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'll give you $50. Now be reasonable. You cannot turn down $50 for a $6 rye.
No. Watch me.
Stop
it.
I want that ride, lady.
Help! Someone
you old pig.
It's so funny though.
Like, this is the lead character of your sitcom, and he's stealing bread from an old lady. It's just so funny. They didn't care.
Bread.
Yeah, bread, literal bread. This is also where Kramer somehow got like the temp job as a handsome cab driver. Because
Kramer with a job in general is always an event.
So they get the Rosses into it, but remember he's been feeding the horse beefarino, which is beefaroni.
Yeah.
Rusty the horse.
Yeah.
So the horse is just like farting up a storm. Remember, he's like, Rusty! So stupid, but funny. In the next one, the caddy, which is where there's someone with a golf caddy. It doesn't matter. The notable thing here is Elaine's rival, Sue Ellen Mischke.
Yes.
Makes her debut.
Oh my God. I love Sue Ellen Mischke as a concept.
She's the heiress to the O. Henry throne, Quinn.
The O. Henry. Yes. Everything about her is fucking annoying.
She doesn't wear a bra.
Yeah. Like, literally, like, she's like the most annoying person in the world. And it just drives Elaine fucking nuts.
Oh, great. It's the braless wonder. Who does she think she's kidding? Look at her. She's totally out of control.
I was thinking that woman looks like Elaine Venice.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Just been hanging out.
I see.
Oh, listen, I'm having a birthday party tomorrow evening. I'd love it if you came by.
Oh, tomorrow. I don't know if I can.
It's like that, you have to be polite to your, like, because it's like girl feuding, I guess,
Yeah.
and it's like this concept that they, like
Put on airs.
yeah, they put on airs, but it's like they both like hate the shit out of each
Yes.
other, and it's like, it's amazing, like it's like so funny. Sue Ellen Mischke is terrible.
She's in multiple episodes
Yeah.
too. Elaine's biggest hang-up is that she's pissed that Sue Ellen doesn't wear a bra.
Right.
So she buys her a bra, but Sue Ellen wears that as like a normal shirt. This causes a car accident involving Jerry and Kramer. So they get Jackie Childs involved, and they do another OJ callback, because we're still doing that, where she puts the bra on over a leotard, and because of that, it doesn't fit.
Because the bra doesn't
You guys
fit.
can figure that out. Yeah. The next one is the 7. It's named after George telling Susan that he wants to name their first child 7, because it was Mickey Mantle's number. Mm-hmm. But Susan's cousin winds up stealing it, and George is like all pissed off, remember?
It's not a name, it's a number.
I know, it's Mickey Mantle's number. So not only is it an all-around beautiful name, it is also a living tribute.
It's awful, I hate it.
Well, that's the name.
Oh, no, it is not. No child of mine is ever going to be named 7.
All right, let's just stay calm here.
I would be pissed off too. That's like a unique name. What the hell?
7? I know.
Yeah.
But also, Jerry's girlfriend wears the same dress every time he sees her, and in pictures, and we never find out why.
Well, you can't break up with me over the phone. Come on, you gotta do this in person. It doesn't even have to be one-on-one. You can bring a group of friends. I just want to see you. Wait, don't hang up on me. Why do you wear the same dress all the time? Hello?
The next one is a 2-parter known as the Cadillac. This is where Jerry, because he's doing well, he buys Morty and Helen a Cadillac. Of course, Morty loves that. Jerry, what, you know?
Yeah.
Elaine thinks now that Jerry is rich, so she starts being very promiscuous, superficial Elaine, like, hey, Jerry,
Yeah.
So, how are you getting to the airport? Do you need a ride or...
No, don't be silly. I haven't arranged a car.
You sure? You sure? Because,
Maybe I'll let you pick me up.
Meanwhile, Kramer has to meet the cable company all day, and you know that one, right?
Yeah.
Where, he's pissed off that they keep fucking with him, so he starts fucking with them.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Now, this is what's great.
Kramer and the cable company.
Yeah, it's a great bit. So with the Cadillac here, we get the return in Florida of Jack Klompus.
Yes.
All the way back from the pen.
Some car.
You want to take a ride?
No, thank you.
Come on, take a ride.
I want to take a ride.
Why not?
I don't feel like taking a ride. Do I have to take a ride?
He doesn't want to take a ride.
What do you think? I've never ridden in a Cadillac before. Believe me, I have ridden in a Cadillac hundreds of times. Thousands.
Thousands?
What do you think? You're such a big shot now because you got a Cadillac?
Ah.
Yeah.
Did you believe that guy?
He thinks that Morty, who is the president of the Pines Condo Association, as we know, he thinks Morty's embezzling money.
Right.
And you are taking money. So they actually get kicked out of the Pines, and here's why. Because the deciding vote is a lady named Mabel Choate, and she is the lady that Jerry stole the marble rye from.
Perfect. Absolutely fucking perfect, yeah.
It's him. It's your son. Now I know where I saw him. He stole my marble ride.
My son never stole anything. He's a good boy.
They should lock him up.
Like father, like son. I changed my vote. I vote to impeach.
Yeah, I do remember that marble rye thing coming back.
Really well done. That's a Chekhov's gun for you.
Yeah.
And then Morty, remember they do like the Nixon-esque where Morty like does the peace sign. Way too dramatic for like a president of a condo board.
Yeah, well, a lot of the funny in that is the fact that they're treating the presidency of the condo board like it's the presidency of the United States.
Like it's nothing.
It's literally like the most minuscule amount of power possible. Like
it's literally nothing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is George had mentioned a few times offhandedly that he had a big attraction to Marissa Tomei. So through a fortunate circumstance, he actually gets to go on a date with the real Marissa Tomei playing herself.
George?
Yes.
But he's with Susan?
Yes. But it's Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you think about it, manure is not really that bad a word. I mean, it's Nua, which is good, and a ma in front of it, which is also good. Ma Nua. It's really quite good.
You're so right. I never thought of it like that. Manure, ma, and the Noor.
And then the best part, he mentions he's engaged and she punches him in the face. For the record, I love Marissa Tomei myself. I love Marissa Tomei.
This was the power of Seinfeld, though, that they could just get Marissa Tomei with probably minimal fucking effort.
Probably
by the way.
no effort, yeah. Anyway, the next one, Quinn, I just need to say the title, and I know you're going to love this one. The Showerhead. To this day, you reference like shower hair. What do you call like you reference like low shower hair?
Yeah, there's shower hair. Like it's the low pressure hair specifically.
You reference it though, like to other things, right?
Well, because it always struck me as like a weird thing that was true.
It's just a silly like visual gag, and it works, right?
So basically, there's like low shower pressure in their like building or something.
So it affects Jerry Kramer and Newman.
I just had this like yesterday. It happened. Like all my water, the pressure was like low for some reason.
There you go.
And then suddenly, like the next day, it's back, like it's unexplained.
Yep.
But anyway, basically, like everybody is taking a shower and they come out and there's like weird, like scraggly, like on their head, which still doesn't even make any sense. Like you could just wet it and comb it,
but their hair's like all flat or something.
Yeah,
right?
like it doesn't act. That's not
really
how this
make
really
sense.
works.
No.
But still, it's just a funny gag because it's just like like everyone's affected by it who has to take a shower. Doesn't it leak into like Elaine and shit? Like I forget.
Yes. So what happens is Kramer's the one that really cares the most.
Yeah.
So he goes to Peterman. He goes to the J. Peterman place where he tells Elaine. First of all, let me explain this. Elaine had failed a urine test for opium, which we later find out was because of poppy
seeds.
Right.
Like the bagels or whatever.
But before anyone finds that out, Kramer goes to Elaine's office, and Peterman overhears Kramer talking about, like,
What's wrong with your shower?
There's no water pressure.
Why don't you just go see Jerry?
No, Jerry's got nothing. Newman's got nothing. You're the only one I know who's got the good stuff, and I need a bad baby because I feel like I got bugs crawling up my skin. Now, you gotta help me out.
Not on my watch. I will have you turn my office into a den of iniquity. You have got your fix somewhere else. Gone, Peter.
So anyway, Peterman's hilarious there. The other subplot here is the Costanzas want to move to Florida. And in a callback to the Maestro episode about Tuscany, Morty and Helen, who don't really like Frank and Estelle, they're like, well, there's nothing there. You know what I mean? Like the same thing.
Yeah.
Because Jerry's parents are up in New York staying with Leo until they move into...
Here we go.
Del Boca Vista.
Del Boca Vista?
Yeah, there's some great outtakes where Jerry Stiller can't get it right. He's like, you mean to tell me there's no place in Del Boca Vista? Or whatever, like he can't do it.
Are you telling me there's not one condo available in all of Del Boca Vista?
That's right.
In all of Del Boca Vista? In all of Del Vista Bico?
That's right.
In all of Del Vista Becco?
The next one is not a great episode, but there's a few things. The doll. So this is where, first of all, because George has long since moved out into I'm sorry, we didn't mention this. Somewhere between the end of season 5 and season 6, George got a new apartment.
Yes, he has an apartment.
That's where he's been this whole time.
We need to know this later for the whole the summer of George and all that shit. Like, that's good you mentioned that.
It does matter. So Frank turns his old room in Queens into a pool room that he and Kramer call the place to be.
Not the billiards. It was. Come on, Rudy. Come on. We call it the place. The place to be. Yes, it's the place to be. Then I shall be there.
This just
imaginary stories.
I have to say, this room is very notable to me because of the gags with the pool table.
Because it's too small.
It's so amazing to watch Kramer have to try to play a game of pool in this room because we know Kramer, like everything he does is squiggly and squaggly, and like he can't, like he's not like a normal fucking person in general.
Everything's a problem.
Yeah, so the stick, it hits like the
wall.
It hits like the blinds.
Yeah, the blinds, right.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Him and, by the way, Michael Richards and Jerry Stiller playing off of each other is always good.
This they made a recurring gag because just Kramer and Frank together is a fucking scene.
Yeah, it's always good.
They made it to the point that I feel like Frank became a Kramer friend, just like Newman. Sometimes he's just with Frank for some
he has nothing to do
reason.
With George or Estelle or anything.
Just separately.
Yeah. You're right. It's because of the comic interplay.
Yeah.
They're really good together.
It's amazing. Sometimes they're just hanging out.
Yeah, like this episode.
Yeah.
The place to be. The maestro returns briefly and shows them a trick of taking off your pants so that way they don't crease. An old conductor's trick. But the episode is named after, the doll because Susan has this doll that looks just like Estelle.
Yeah.
That's like the main point.
It's creepy.
But Quinn, you'll be happy to know that this is, you've been waiting for this for some godforsaken reason. Sally Weaver makes her debut here. That's played by Kathy Griffin.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Well, here I am.
Oh, hi. Elaine, this is Sally.
Hi.
How was your flight? Pretty uncomfortable?
Actually, the seat next to me was empty, so there's no problem at all.
Wait. This isn't the sauce that I asked for.
That's right. It's a special gourmet sauce. The pride of Memphis.
Here we go.
Jerry doesn't like her. There's a series of issues. I don't like this episode that much, and we'll get to her later.
It's more that she's annoying, and it's playing off that Kathy Griffin is annoying in real life, and that's why it's perfect. It's the only thing she was ever good in because it's realistic.
Yeah, no one likes her.
Yeah.
The next episode is the Friars Club. Most notably, George delays his wedding until June in this one, so that's nice. But
he's always trying to delay this wedding.
He doesn't want to get married. There's something to do with Jerry's jacket because he went to the Friars Club, but he accidentally took the loaner jacket with him. But then they go see the Flying Sandoz Brothers magic show, and the guy throws it.
What a random fucking thing.
I know. But the more notable plots here that I remember are Peterman has hired Rob Schneider, who has a career somehow, who has a hearing impairment, and he thinks Elaine's making fun of it the whole time, remember?
Yeah.
But they wind up going to some show together, and Elaine thinks he's faking it so he gets out of doing work, and then when she puts on the hearing aid, remember she falls all comically when there's a loud noise. But also Kramer's doing this Leonardo da Vinci thing of only sleeping 20 minutes a day, and his Italian-American girlfriend thinks that he's fucking dead, even though he just passed out because he hasn't slept.
Yeah.
So she dumps him in, I think it's the East River or the Hudson River, and you see that scene of Kramer escaping this burlap sack in the middle of a tank.
Very Kramer plot.
Very Kramer. The next one, I have nothing to say about this really, is the Wigmaster. This is where George and Kramer find a discount parking lot, but this is where George finds a condom in his car, and then his car is not there suspiciously sometimes.
What do you people call it? Turning tricks?
So dumb.
The other thing that people will probably visually remember is through a series of circumstances, Kramer wears a Technicolor dream coat, and as he's walking down the street, a hat is blown down.
Yep.
A floppy hat. But he's also using a walking stick from the Peterman catalog.
So he looks like a pimp.
Yes.
And this, again, this is one of those things I feel like nobody remembers why this happened.
Right.
But it's a fucking meme of just the gif of him walking down the street.
Exactly.
Like this.
Nobody really knows the context. Same thing with him getting out of the bag in the river, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows why that happened.
This, to me, became a trend with Kramer because, as I said earlier, there became a weird trope in this show where if we don't have a story for Kramer, we need to put him in a insane situation.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Kramer is he doesn't need a story. He's that fucking entertaining.
Yes.
Like he can just be in a dumb fucking situation. Like even if there's a build up to get him there, once he's in it, he's fucking magic.
I agree
like
with you.
he's so funny.
And that works, yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is the calzone, where George is in the middle of, again, in a meeting with Steinbrenner and people, like a board meeting.
So important, George.
He's eating a calzone, and Steinbrenner's like, Georgie, what is that?
Okay, hey, what's in this thing?
Cheese, pepperoni, eggplant.
Eggplant, huh? That's a hell of a thing. All right, back to business. Here you go. Very good. Excellent little calzone you got there, Costanza.
Steinbrenner now has this like affinity for calzones.
He loves calzones now suddenly.
But George gets banned from the calzone plates because he tried to tip so the people saw it when they didn't see it. He took the tip back out. He was going to put it back in.
Cheap George returns.
Yes, but they ban him, right? Meanwhile, Kramer's got this new fascination with wearing clothes that are only straight out of the dryer. This ties into him going to the calzone place, but asking them to also heat up his shirt while he's there. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that ties into that. And then also Elaine is dating a guy named Todd Gack, who makes like stupid bets for dinner that he knows he's going to lose. So that way he can ask a girl out without asking them out.
If he wanted to ask me out, why didn't he just ask me?
Because if he doesn't ask you out, he doesn't get rejected. He's found a dating loophole.
We're almost at the end of the season. This has been a fun season.
Yeah.
The Bottle Deposit is a two-parter where Kramer and Newman team up to start trying to like get recycling money because you get the 5-cent return.
Oh my God. This is so... First of all, this is a very Kramer and Newman thing to do.
Very Kramer and Newman.
This is classic, like a scheme,
Remember
a
the
caper.
records?
Yeah, like this is like them. They find out that money can be made off the recycling.
Yes,
and now it becomes a fucking obsession, a like business scam.
And then they find out, well, it's 5 cents here in New York, but in Michigan it's 10 cents a bottle.
Yeah,
they decide we're going to drive to Michigan. Okay. Meanwhile, Jerry has an obsessive mechanic who's like very obsessive about Jerry's car.
Right.
Played by Brad Garrett, who within a year would be playing Robert Barone.
So, anyway, the engine's been idling a little rough. I thought it might be time for a checkup. There's really nothing wrong on the inside.
Well, the shift knob is loose. You know about that?
No, I hadn't noticed.
Have you been picking at it?
Have I been picking at it? No, it's just wear and tear.
Wear and tear. I see.
The engine's really the only thing that needs checking.
You've been rotating the tires?
Try to.
You don't try to, you do it.
Well, the other one is Sue Ellen Mischke returns, and she gets into a bidding war with Elaine about JFK golf clubs. George, meanwhile, doesn't know what the project is that he's supposed to be working on because, like, Wilhelm was in the bathroom when he was talking to him.
Yep.
Brad Garrett steals Jerry's car. Newman and Kramer on their way to Michigan chase him down. Kramer gets rid of all the shit in the mail van. They're in Newman's mail truck to make it go faster.
They need to haul the shit, yeah.
They ultimately he gets rid of Newman himself because he's too heavy. This leads to Newman running off to a farm and having a tryst with the farmer's daughter.
This is what I mean. It's like this episode goes off the fucking rails. Like now they're like in the boonies. Like the Seinfeld
in
like,
Ohio
never goes here.
No.
Like this is so crazy.
And the
only time they ever did this was the one in California.
And the Bubble Boy, upstate New York, yeah. The actress that played the farmer's daughter, she legitimately messed up, and this is why there's this great bit that they kept in where she's like, "Goodbye, Norman," instead of Newman.
It's perfect.
And they just left it because they're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Norman!
Funny episode. 2 more. The Wait Out. This is where Elaine and Jerry have these married friends. George gets introduced to them, makes a comment to the woman, Beth. She's like, well, you could have done a lot better than this guy, David. She considers that, and they break up. So Jerry and Elaine try to get with each of them individually because they're both shallow people, right? Meanwhile, David meets Susan and George and makes that same remark to Susan, like, you could have done a lot better than him. And George is like happy because
that plays exactly into what George wants. He's been trying to break up with Susan forever now,
but she doesn't. You know what I mean? She's like fine with
because
him.
of course it doesn't work. Like the very thing that worked on that couple.
Right.
George probably is thinking, I have it made.
Right.
This is it. Like I can finally get out of this.
But Susan's like, you're fine.
I think that she thinks that she could do better. Do you appreciate this? Do you see the irony of this? Do you see what's going on here? What's the matter?
I'm nauseous.
Is that what's hurting your appreciation for the story?
Hello.
Oh, me again. Yeah. So they forgot to mention, well, because Beth was, she was actually played by Deborah Messing. She was Grace on Will and Grace, a show from an NBC program later.
Meanwhile, the subplot here is Kramer has been wearing like really tight pants all the time. Mickey is also involved in this. Remember Mickey from a few seasons ago? Kramer babysits this kid named Joey. But when Joey sees Kramer walking with his tight jeans and he can barely walk, he's walking all stilted, he has weird hair.
He can't even like bend his knees.
Right.
Like, he's like falling over everything like an idiot.
The funny bit where Kramer's like bending over the sofa trying to get his pants off.
The sofa is what I remember the most.
Joey thinks that he's Frankenstein's monster. The punchline here is that Mickey winds up standing in, because remember he has to stand in for the kid in the bed.
Good night, honey.
Good night.
And that's a funny one. But now the season finale, one of the most controversial episodes of Seinfeld as a series. It's May 16th, 1996. Larry David alone wrote this one. George and Susan, the wedding is still on. They go to buy the
What's the name of this?
Excuse me, the invitations. And George and Susan go to buy said invitations. George, of course, chooses the cheapest invitations for their wedding.
Of course.
Kramer, meanwhile, has this weird bit where he thinks her name is Lily the whole time, like, and she's all mad at him for it. Jerry's subplot is that he is almost hit by a car, but his life is saved by Jeannie Steinman, who turns out to be the female version of Jerry.
You know, you should be a lot more careful crossing the street, otherwise you could die, if that bothers you.
Wow.
See, to me this is a waste.
What?
The shirt you got on under your sweater. It sits in a drawer for 3 weeks waiting to come out, and when it finally does, it only sticks up half an inch out of your collar.
I'm Jerry Seinfeld.
Jeannie Steinman.
Jeannie Steinman is played by the wonderful Janine Garofalo, who, if you remember the 90s, she was...
Janine was everywhere.
Yeah. So they hit it off, Jeannie and Jerry. They get engaged.
Will you marry me?
And then Jerry, after living with himself for a few days and dealing, he's like, I don't like this person.
Yeah.
Because she's just like him, right?
This is to come full circle because, right, Jerry and George had this agreement in the first episode, right? So, like,
Exactly.
this is Jerry's part of the bit.
Yep.
I'll just have a cup of coffee.
Bowl of cornflakes?
More cereal? That's your third bowl today? You had it for breakfast and lunch.
Hey, so what's the deal with brunch? I mean, if it's a combination of breakfast and lunch, how come there's no Lupper? Or no Linner?
Meanwhile, George is thinking of every possible way to get rid of Susan. So he starts smoking cigarettes. Remember?
Yeah. He starts being like obnoxious. He started like literally like all hands on deck.
Right.
We just got to get rid of Susan.
I remember he's like coughing his way through. He's like, oh, no, I can't. I'm addicted.
Since when do you smoke?
I've always smoked.
I've never seen you smoke.
Oh, yeah. Well, big smoker. I gave it up for a while, but it was too tough. You know, I haven't got the willpower.
Oh, I don't like this one bit.
Well, I can't stop now.
Then he's like, well, why don't we do a prenup? And she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, he tries everything to offend her.
So meanwhile, they got to get these wedding invitations out, right? They need a lot of moisture due to the shitty adhesive. So George is like, well, why don't you just glue them instead of licking all of these? Susan doesn't listen. She licks all of the invitation envelopes.
Every single one.
Then she collapses. Then we cut to the hospital, where George is there, obviously, but also Kramer, Jerry, and Elaine. They show up in support. And we find out from the same doctor from the Junior Mint, Susan died.
Excuse me, are you the husband?
Well, not yet, fiance.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry. She's gone.
What's that?
She expired.
Are you sure?
Yes, of course.
So,
She's dead. Yes.
Huh.
This was like out of left field for Seinfeld. Like I was like, what the what?
We found traces of a certain toxic adhesive commonly found in very low-priced envelopes.
She's, gone.
Dead?
I'm so sorry, George.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I didn't think of this episode as controversial. I just thought it was like weird.
Well, the reason it got a big backlash is because of the character's very non-emotional reactions
Well, yeah,
to it.
so here's the thing, right? This is why it's like I can see how it's fucked up, is that
It's
like
heartless in a way.
George is relieved.
Yeah.
And
He tries to mask it, but yeah.
like it's fucked up.
And all the three other characters are like,
they don't even care.
They know that he didn't like her.
Right.
When people talk about how the Seinfeld characters are not humane, this is a good example.
Right.
Because none of them care.
Yeah.
And if you recall, at the very end, Jerry is the one pissed off now because he got engaged.
Right.
And now George is off the hook.
Now, how selfish is that?
Right.
Well, I thought we'd both be getting married.
Hey, what can I tell you?
All right.
Come on, let's get some coffee.
We had a pact!
And then in the tag...
Yes, I'd like to speak with Marissa Tomei, please. Marissa, hi, it's George Costanza. Yeah, I was just calling because I wanted you to know that I'm not engaged anymore. Well, she died. Toxic glue from the wedding invitations. Well, we were expecting about 200 people. Yeah. Anyway, I've got the funeral tomorrow, but my weekend is pretty wide open. And, I was wondering... Hello?
And the other thing here is, this is deleted scenes. You can find them on YouTube. The real George Steinbrenner was supposed to be in this episode.
Was that supposed to be the final, like, punchline
Yeah.
here? Is that the real Steinbrenner shows up?
But they just cut it because it wasn't that good. And
Yeah.
it really, I've watched these scenes multiple times.
I gotta say,
they're really
as
not
somebody
that
who's
good.
lived in the New York metropolitan area, fake Steinbrenner is funnier than real Steinbrenner.
Yeah, I mean, George Steinbrenner himself is a character, but it didn't work here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, young lady. What's this about singles tables? I don't sit at singles tables. Singles tables are for losers. The Yankees have won 33 pennants and 22 World Championships. We're winners. We don't sit with losers.
I mean, how do you do both? Like, you have this caricature you want to keep doing. How do you put the real guy in there?
Yeah, you can't.
When he's not, you know what I mean?
He's also not an actor.
No,
so
he's
it's
not.
like if you're like George Steinbrenner, if you're in this, you got to like act like the fake George Steinbrenner.
Right.
Like that's not going to work.
No, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I personally thought it was a huge mistake to have done that because I thought the device that we had going with Larry's voice was now dead forever. We couldn't do it anymore now that we've seen the real guy. We were also fortunate that the show was horrendously long. We needed, I think we needed to take 6 or 7 minutes out of that show.
What do you think, Quinn, of them killing Susan Ross, Heidi Swedberg?
Here's the one thing, is with a TV show, like this is not to say I'm like heartless or anything, but like these are fictional characters. I don't
That's
like
true.
it doesn't really bother me that much.
That's true.
If that's the direction they chose to write her off the show, that's just how it works, right?
Does it make sense in the context of Seinfeld?
In Seinfeld, it's weird because I feel like it's a step too far in a sense that it's like, well, nobody's actually supposed to like die or get hurt or
Right.
anything. It's just supposed to be like a funny like way they get out of their life.
Fair.
But I get where they were going with the joke, in quotes, I suppose, is that he cannot get rid of Susan, that this is like the only way.
Yeah.
Right? Is like that she has to pass away, but like it's still kind of like a heartless joke.
It
like,
is.
They could have done what they honestly, if they really, even if it didn't end up as like I guess as a big deal as this, They could have just been like that Susan, like it ends up being the most minor thing possible. That's the last straw for Susan. That just makes her leave him like that. Like after all of this other shit.
Yeah, it's like one thing.
It's like, I don't know, he like spills spaghetti on a carpet or something. Like, like something like really like minor.
Yeah.
And then George is like surprised or something, right?
Yeah, like almost remorseful, right?
Right, yeah.
That'd be funny. I think it's very Seinfeld-y. It's very Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld. In real life, Jason Alexander and Julia Louis-Dreyfus in particular really didn't care for acting with Heidi Swedberg, not on a personal level, just like on a work level.
But how are the actors felt about the decision to kill her off?
I don't
literally?
think they cared. I really don't think they cared. They were like, well, this is our show, so whatever.
Yeah.
So folks, we want to know what you think about that. I will say, if you put 6 and 7 back to back, Quinn, you know me. I'm normally like, earlier is better.
Mm-hmm.
I like 7 more than 6.
7's better.
I think 7's better.
Yeah.
I do. I really.
It has a cohesive storyline too.
Exactly. That was the point. Like Larry David really came back with a vengeance for this season. 6 is very all over the map. It's funny.
Yeah.
But they're more like sketches to me, like skits. These episodes stand alone on their own.
Right.
Folks, that is the third part of our Seinfeld series here. One more to go. Quinn's favorite will be coming up.
Here we go.
Season 9 the next time we do
lovely.
this. The Zane is like through the roof.
It's amazing.
Quinn, on those seasons. But we really do hope you enjoy this. Again, we apologize that there are things we didn't say. Sorry. I don't know how else to explain it, but we can't say everything.
This was a lot.
This was a lot, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us here. Please follow us on Twitter at AWM Podcast. Join our very friendly Facebook group.
So friendly.
Let us know which season of these two that you like better, 6 or 7. I personally do like 7 better. Let us know what you think of the whole Susan situation. And please leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. But next week will be something absolutely, positively, completely different here in the place to be. Until that time, Joe Morata, that is Michael Quinn, and we are out of here.
See ya.
Like what you heard? Be sure to leave a review and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We will see you next week.